Let's do it. Let's do it. Okay, let me see. Hello. This will probably be members only. Is my microphone slowly falling down, girl? Y'all, I don't have wealthy people things. I don't even have well-off people things. Not the wealthiest. The most expensive thing I have in this apartment is the air fryer. If you guys see, I would say the stove, the refrigerator, the cabinets, but like you can't. I didn't pay for any of that stuff. That's just the apartment. It's gonna be. I'm not taking it with me when I leave. Is what I'm saying. The most expensive thing here is the air fryer. So if y'all hear a story, family of 4 died in a house fire, and you see my name on it, and you're wondering why all 4 people died except me, didn't he try to save anyone? I grabbed the air fryer. It's the only thing with resale value. Go and try and sell some children. Actually, don't do that. But like, all right. Anywho, welcome, production Empress and Oporio. That's an interesting name. Oporio butterfly. So there's a woman on TikTok, and apparently her psychiatrist is having an inappropriate relationship with her, manipulating her, using his position of power to influence her in all sorts of things. So we are going to go through it because it's definitely a members type of video, I think. Welcome, Chrissy. Happy Tuesday. So this shouldn't take long, actually. This should be like super quick. She fell in love with her predatory psychiatrist. Let me see if I can find number 1, the first video. Nothing beats a Jet2 holiday. And right now you can save £50 per person. Like, this is so... What is going on? I can't find the first video. A ghetto stream already? Girl, where is this video? Let me sort by popular. But this is the lady. I'm sure you guys have seen her on TikTok, maybe. She's white.
I fell in love with my psychiatrist, and he knew that, and he kept me for years as a patient until I was brave enough to leave him. Usually when I go on this app and I have a question, I have a bunch of videos that pop up, and I searched in love with my psychiatrist and nothing happened. So I would really like to discuss what happens when we fall in love with our mental health professionals, and most importantly, the fact that there are so many people, especially men, that are emotionally dead inside, that feel called to going into psychiatry and therapy so they don't have to feel their feelings, but they can feed off of the vulnerability of their mostly female patients. What do you guys think? I fell in love with my...
So I saw this video and I said to myself, another story of a man in a position of power weaponizing it against women. And then I continued to watch this. It has to be like a 15-part story time or whatever now. I continued to watch. And I started saying, I don't know about this one. So let me give y'all a swallowed since y'all asked. And then we can get into it.
I would have been swallowed up. Have you ever been swallowed up? Swallowed up. Have you ever been swallowed up? Swallowed up. Have you ever been swallowed up? Been swallowed up. Been swallowed up. Been swallowed up. swallowed up? Have you ever been swallowed up? Swallowed up. Been swallowed up. Swallowed up. Been swallowed up. Swallowed up. Swallowed been swallowed up. Swallowed up. Swallowed been swallowed up.
Have you ever been swallowed up? Have you ever gone through a time of swallowing when everything was overwhelming? Let me find the full clip before we... Have you ever been swallowed up? Let me save it too. That's the I haven't saved it. Let me download it. What if it goes away? Let me go ahead and download it real quick. There, now we can watch it. Wait, it won't download. TD Jakes is a mess. Speaking of TD Jakes, now I should wait for the meme section. Y'all, TD Jakes is being freaky on Instagram. Let me show y'all after the show.
Come out the closet and stop keeping a secret and let the world.
This clip always get me, bro. Every 3 seconds he says, here, I'll just go on mute.
Come out the closet and stop keeping a secret and let the world know, if it had not been for the Lord that was on my side, I would have been, I would have been swallowed up. Have you ever been swallowed up? Have you gone through a time of swallowing where everything was overwhelming and you were at your wit's end? That is my point of view. Because my point of view in the Easter story is relational. But from God's perspective, it is quite transactional. The word redemption is in its nature transactional.
Yes, Pastor. All right, let's go back. So let's get to know her a little bit. Let's see who she is.
Have you ever thought about maybe your struggles are happening not to bring you down, but to lift you up, to make you a better person? Sure, some of the things that happen with ADHD.
Yeah, I don't care. So she's an ADHD coach. Let me see.
ADHDers, do you ever feel like you're too much, too loud, too messy, too alive, too bossy? Guess what? All of those things are what you incarnated to be. Yes, we chose to have ADHD so we could have fun and be ourselves in a world that was not meant for us. ADHDers.
Cool. So that's her content. She's ADHD coach. She helps ADHDers get and stay sober. I prefer ADHD. I like the ADHD crowd, the combo people. They are something else. They are something else to have as friends and family. They are something else. Love them. ADHD people, terrible. ADHD, amazing, unique, fun. ADHD, poor, tasteless, classless. ADHD, amazing, cool, reputable. All right, let's get to her series.
I fell in love with my psychiatrist and he knew that, and he...
Oh, that's the one we watched.
Yes, I told him often that I had a crush on him, told him all the time.
The question is, how did he know that? Did you tell him?
That I thought he was attractive, and he just would smile and not say anything because he was the king of plausible deniability. He didn't ever ask me if I had a crush on him, but he didn't do anything when I told him.
Okay, at every video, I'm going to ask y'all what y'all think. I'm going to ask y'all, do you find the relationship inappropriate on his part, her part? I'm just going to ask what y'all think at every point. What do we think so far? Nothing? Got it. Let's continue. Girl.
Oh, he wasn't just fine with me having a crush on him and being in love with him. He loved it. And he had every ethical duty to a psychiatric relationship when he found out that I had a crush on him, but he kept me for years after. And this is what I mean. He was a 38-year-old, attractive, smart, extremely successful psychiatrist, but he did not date. Why didn't he date? Because he got his emotional needs met feeding off of his patients and getting fantasy supply from them and being seen by them. I'm really good at seeing people. He loved the way I saw him. It is a crazy story, and I can't wait to share it. Oh, he was.
Okay, what do we think so far? Girl, what? We ain't even 2 videos in. What you talk about? She seemed unstable. Were they having sex? Let's play it.
Sorry, but what did you want him to do? Get rid of you as a patient? Yes, yes, that's what they're taught in psychiatric training, is that the moment is romantic feelings, it is on them to transfer that patient out. Without a doubt, he was the one with the medical degree. He was the one that knew better, but he loved the attention that I gave him too much to do the right thing. So yes, that's what I wanted him to do, the ethical thing. Sorry, but what did you want him to do? Get rid of you as a patient? Was I going through something psychologically? Let me be perfectly clear here. Even if I was going through something psychologically, it was on my psychiatrist to do something about it, because he was the one with the ethical training and the psychiatric knowledge. So to answer your question, no, I was not going through something. I was simply wanting to go back on ADHD meds. And I told him in my intake about some of the family stress that I had went through, relational stress. And he also diagnosed me with not only ADHD, but other trauma, stressor related disorders. He did not tell me about that diagnosis until I asked him a year and a half later. But what he did with that diagnosis was he used it to recreate attachment bonds and make me addicted to him. Was I?
How are we feeling so far? I feel like a lot of this went on in her head. I could be wrong. What else do y'all feel like? This sounds unhinged. Why didn't you leave? I actually agree with her if she was having feelings or something, and especially if it's due to like psychological reasons. I believe he had the ethical need to, yeah. If she's unstable, that's still on him.
Okay, I don't know who you are, but you absolutely get it, because predatory psychiatrists who feed off of the emotions and vulnerabilities of their patient for a living, they absolutely do not ever intend to catch feelings. They do not intend to catch feelings. But my psychiatrist accidentally caught feelings for me and I know that he did, because he started leaking at the end. He started leaking at the end he accidentally told me one time that he had countertransference. That was a big slip for him. And I was the one that still had to walk away. But yeah, it is absolutely a predator's worst nightmare to catch feelings for their supply. So I don't know who you are, but you get it. So thank you for seeing the truth in this situation too. Okay.
Leaking? Oh, I must have missed it. Hold up.
Okay. I don't know who you are, but you absolutely get it, because predatory psychiatrists who feed off of the emotions and vulnerabilities of their patients, for a living, they absolutely do not ever intend to catch feelings. They do not intend to catch feelings. But my psychiatrist accidentally caught feelings for me because, and I know that he did because he started leaking at the end. He started leaking at the end by...
Oh, okay. He started dripping water. No, I think leaking is like slipping up, like your mask is falling in this context.
He accidentally told me one time that he had countertransference.
Let's look up countertransference. Countertransference. A therapist's redirection of feelings towards a patient or becoming emotionally entangled with them. This is a big claim. Let's see if we will have proof.
Oh, I know it's common, but what's unethical about this situation is that my psychiatrist did not help me work through my feelings. What my psychiatrist did stayed completely silent as I would pour out my love and devotion to him, and he just drank it in and did nothing to help me work through those feelings, nothing to help me work through past attachment issues, nothing to help me grow and realize that I was in love with someone who couldn't love me back. He just sucked it in. And that's what made it unethical. Oh,
wait, is he her therapist or psychiatrist? I thought he was a psychiatrist. The therapist is the one that you see frequently. The psychiatrist is the one that every, I don't know, 1 or 2 months, you go to your psychiatrist and they're like, how are the drugs I prescribed you? Are they messing with your body in any way? Is your mental health fine? Okay, I'm going to renew your prescription. So I wouldn't, well, I'll keep listening.
Yeah, I learned that through this experience, that many broken and wounded men are attracted to psychiatry when they're in med because they learn that they have access to vulnerability, to extreme vulnerability that they themselves don't allow themselves to feel or access, but they can get it from their patients. So that's why they can do anything, but they go to psychiatry. So they can feed off of the vulnerability of their patients and be the wounded healer instead of having to just face their own demons. Yeah, I will not be seeing another male psychiatrist again.
I just realized her glasses lens make the inside of her face look smaller than the rest of the outside. I just found that a little funny. That's not relevant at all to anything.
Yeah, he let me see him every month, even though I only had to see him every 3 months. This is what I mean. He loved attention from me. He didn't ever tell me, see you every 3 months. Yeah,
All right, what are we thinking? Get a female psychiatrist. I'd recommend it. Continuing to work with her in the midst of her love feelings is unethical. We can go and look at the psychologist on TikTok. They had some words to say. So we'll do that after.
This is the hard part about this story, is that he was so good at plausible deniability. He was really smart and good at being a predator. He had been for 12 years. So he didn't ever ask me to give him sexual content. I did that on my own. And he just...
Wait. Girl, what are y'all doing at the psychological appointments? He never asked for any. I just gave him some sexual who? I'm trying to see, are y'all sending pictures to each? Or I guess, well, you would just be the one sending it to him. I'm genuinely confused at what's going on in these psychiatric
let it happen, and he let me keep talking. He did not stop and redirect the conversation as
Okay, talking, not like pictures. I misunderstood.
a normal psychiatrist would have, right? Or an ethical one at least. And he also didn't stop me when I told him that I had a crush on him many times. He didn't say, let's explore those feelings. He just sat there and let me tell him. And I won't ever forgive him, but I don't think he did anything that's reportable. But I will tell my story here on TikTok. This is the hard part about.
Hi, Level Up Single Mom. I hope you're feeling well. I saw your live stream recently. Hope everything's okay. I'm here for you. Message me if you need me. We all love you. I speak for everyone in the chat when I say that. I speak for all of us. I speak for everyone when I say, God, take us now. We are ready. Come and get us all. Everyone in the chat and me. We are all ready. Thank you.
This story is that I didn't mean to fall in love with my psychiatrist. He used things and trauma that I had went through in the past. He did his best to use me and to groom me to fall in love with him so I could give him content for his fantasy. Don't worry, I'll tell the whole story either later today or tomorrow. I didn't mean to fall in love with my psychiatrist. I try not to use this term of narcissist because I think it's overused in our society. However, there were so many traits that my psychiatrist, like God complex. He thought he was above the rules. Other psychiatrists had to refer out when they had countertransference for their clients, for their patients, but he didn't think he had to. He thought he could be above it. He also would make me feel crazy when I would try to name the dynamic and the tension that was there between us that he himself manufactured and built. And then he would rage at me and tell me that I was wrong. It's crazy. And I definitely will be on the lookout when I'm interacting with these people, for those tendencies. I try not to use this term of narcissist. I just got done with a run at the gym, and I just had to take a moment to say that this is what an ethical situation with transference looks like. A male provider, when their female patient has a crush on them, saying, let's explore that. Let's unpack that. Let's learn the deeper trauma behind why you have an attachment to an authority figure. But what I got.
This is where unattractive people should be appointed. Did she pick her doctor, or was she assigned to him? Either way, she could have changed her doctor, or he could have recused himself from her care. Where do they keep the unattractive doctor? What does this mean, C. Miles? What does the first sentence mean? So you think they keep a supply in the back? Oh, she has a crush. Go and get one of the. I do actually think he should have recused himself. I don't think that's the correct term for a medical professional, but y'all know what I'm saying, or what C. Miles is saying.
What my psychiatrist gave me was silence, smirks, and exploitation. Zero help when I told him that I had a crush on him. Just a big smile and nothing else. I just got done with. I fell in love with my psychiatrist, and he knew, and he kept me until I had the strength to leave after 4 years. Here it is, part 1.
Before we start part 1, just know that what it sounds like to me is like she was like, I have feelings for you. And he was like, so your meds. You don't want to talk about my feelings more? Nah, I think I want to talk about your meds. You don't want to explore those feelings? Nah, I just want to talk about your meds. She about to have to convince me. I'm not going to lie. But I still think he should have dropped her as not drop her as a client, but yeah, drop her as a client.
So I decided to.
And I'm wondering if she's a reliable narrator, which later on we'll see some emails that she shows us, and we'll see what she says about the email, and then we'll read the email ourselves, and we'll decide, is she a reliable narrator?
Go back on ADHD meds after many years of being off of them. I was on them in my early 20s to help me get through college. And then I went off of them because they just weren't like, the side effects were too much over the benefits. But then in my late 20s, I read this book, Taking Charge of Adult ADHD, and it absolutely changed my life. For my fellow ADHDers, there's so many good things in here. And the biggest thing that I took away was that it's very important for ADHDers to be on meds. So I decided to make an appointment with a psychiatrist. I just Googled psychiatry in the city that I lived in, and I went with the first one that came up, and I got an appointment within a month.
Once she sent him nudes, he should have stopped seeing her. So I don't think she sent him nudes. I think I completely misinterpreted earlier when she said he didn't ask her for sexual content, but she gave it to him anyway. I think she was talking about conversation. So maybe she was talking about her sex life or something. But we'll see.
Month. And then I booked a 90-minute intake, and I show up to the intake, and this man is my age, and I can't help but notice that he's pretty attractive, this psychiatrist. I fell in love with my psychiatrist, and he knew, and he kept me until I had this. I fell in love with my psychiatrist, and he kept me anyway, part 2. So in this intake, I kind of clocked that he was attractive, but when I tell you that I've had a lot of couch time in my life, a lot of therapy, I just went right into it. I trusted him enough, of course, why wouldn't I, to tell him about my childhood trauma, my daddy issues, if you will, what I had went through, all of the relationship trauma that I had.
I'm still on, this is a psychiatrist. Clocked his attractiveness, clocked it. Clocking is when you look at something and like, I always thought clocking was about seeing behind the scenes, not seeing like if you ask a man to look at his nails and he looks at them like pointing out instead of pointing in, then you clock that he is gay or something, right? You're supposed to be seeing behind the scenes, not seeing something directly. Also, the use of the word clock. But also, psychiatry appointment, these are like 30 minutes, right? So when you say, oh, we got into, and then you have to prescribe medication and stuff like that. And then on your first psychiatry appointment, you have to go through this long intake, I believe. Have you thought about deleting yourself within the past 7 days? What about the past 28 days? Have you thought about harming others in the past 7 days? What about 28 days? Have you, over the past 7 days, have you felt like not getting out of bed 1 day, 2 or more days, all of the days? Over the past 7 days, have you, wow, this is really specific. Never mind. I don't want to tell on myself. But usually an hour, it seems like not the place where you would be getting into childhood trauma already on the first appointment. But anywho.
What I had went through, all of the relationship trauma that I had. I was 6 months sober at this time, but like all of the drinking and substance use I used to do. And he just listened and nodded. And that's the thing about psychiatrists, is that they're good at pretending to listen. They can appear connected, but that doesn't mean that they're always connected. So I just felt really seen. And I also told him, I was like, look, I don't want to be on stimulant meds. So he listened to me and he put me on the non-stimulant ADHD med at the lowest dose, just to figure out if it was going to work for me. I fell in love.
He was really good at pretending to listen. Psychiatrists are really good at pretending to listen. I told him that I wanted non-stimulant meds, and he put me on non-stimulant meds. Y'all, this is gonna be an uphill win for me to be on her side. This is gonna be an uphill win, I think. But let's continue to listen.
I was in love with my psychiatrist and he kept me anyway, part 3. So I hadn't ever seen a psychiatrist before. When I was on meds in my early,
And please let me know if I'm missing stuff too, or if I'm overlooking something.
I only got meds from my primary care physician. So I didn't understand how psychiatry works. So because he was figuring out my med dose, I saw him every month. And he just made me feel like I was his friend. He was really, really funny and cracked jokes and told me he was impressed with my running that I would do. And yeah, so of course I loved the attention that I got from him. And it was in my 3rd session with him, because at this point we were all on Zoom, that I asked him, I said, hey, do you mind if I call you by your first name? And he's Pakistani, so I said his first name wrong. And he said, well, it's pronounced this, but yes, of course you can. And he seemed so smug and happy with himself. And I know that that is because that was his first sign that him pretending like we're friends was working. And to be fair to me, I had only ever been to therapy before. I didn't realize that, it's important to call your doctor last name. I mean, I did know that. I did it with all my other doctors, but it just showed that the boundaries were blurring, and he liked that. So from then on, from my 3rd session on, I started calling him his first name. And then he just started turning up the volume on us being friendly. And he would ask me, for the first 6 sessions, he asked me after the meds, he said, how's your bowels, bladder, and appetite? And I would say they're all normal. And then he would ask me any thoughts of harm. And apparently that's pretty common for psychiatry to ask those questions. And then on our 6th session, when things were really, the chemistry was starting to be there before, like, I didn't realize it. I was like, oh, this man is just friendly. And he said, I have to ask this because it's a special interest of mine, but is there any thoughts of harm? Like I was special to him. And I said, no thoughts of harm. And he didn't ever ask me a clinical question again. He stopped asking me about my bladder, bowels, and appetite, and he stopped asking me about thoughts of harm. So to me, I would just show up and he was like a therapy appointment every month. I was in love.
Okay, red flags. It's a personal interest of mine. Any thoughts of harm? That's, I think, just the personal interest part, not red flags. He said you can call me by my first name. Maybe I misheard. You could call me Ahmed. Good morning, Jennifer. Jennifer is my first name. Why is he calling me by my first name? Because the chemistry is heating up. And y'all, the reason I keep saying it's hard for me to side with her like broadly is because it feels like the connections she make don't connect to me. So I feel like she'll say stuff like, for 3 months he was asking me about my bowel movements, and then he suddenly stopped, and I'm like, well, yeah. Because I feel like that's something that's normal for psychiatry. Like, this is new medication we're taking. How is it going? Okay, let's up the dosage since you're doing okay with this. How about now? Too much, let's lower it a little bit. How about now? And then once you like settle into something, we don't have to get as in-depth. Now, any clinical questions, like none at all, I don't know about that, but definitely I think they decrease significantly once you actually get stable on some medication. So that's the only reason. It has nothing to do with not believing a victim's story or something like that. It specifically has to do with me feeling like the connections she makes seem like normal psychiatry to me. I'm not a psychiatrist or a mental health professional, so like grain of salt, obviously. And then the other stuff that she's saying doesn't connect, like we had chemistry. The chemistry was really heating up. And maybe it's because she's not giving us like examples, or the examples she give us aren't very good ones, I don't think. She told him, let's continue. I'll let her continue.
with my psychiatrist, and he kept me
Actually, I want to rewatch this just to see where she said there was chemistry. And then we can move forward.
anyway, part 3. So I hadn't ever seen a psychiatrist before. When I didn't understand my med dose, really funny and cracked jokes, and told me he was impressed with my running that I would do. And yeah, so of course I loved the attention that I got from him. And it was in my 3rd session with him, because at this point we were all on Zoom, that I asked him, I said, hey, do you mind if I call you by your first name? And he's Pakistani, so I said his first name wrong. And he said, well, it's pronounced this, but yes, of course you can. And he seemed so smug and happy with himself. And I know that that is because that was his first sign that him pretending like we're friends was working. And to be fair to me, I had only ever been to therapy before. I didn't realize that, it's important to call your doctor last name. I mean, I did.
Are y'all in therapy? Are any of y'all in therapy or have a psychiatrist? And do you call your therapist Dr. Blank every time? Because I definitely be like, what's up, Trisha? My therapist's name ain't Trisha, but I definitely be like, what's up, Trisha? Let me tell you, girl, let me tell you what happened today. So I went to the channel, right? And I was 100%, they was going to be on my side. Trisha, are you listening? Why are you writing down on your notepad? I haven't said anything red flag yet. Why are you writing on your notepad, Trisha? First name never smashed. I never called my therapist or psychiatrist doctor. I'm going to do that. Actually, I have an appointment tomorrow. I'm going to just do it and see what happens. Good morning, Dr. White. After Trisha for, I don't know, it's been like a year. After Trisha for a year, Dr. White's going to go crazy tomorrow. Not Dr. White, the doctor, Dr. White, the phrase. It's going to go crazy.
So I was seeing him every month and just gaining more and more respect for him, because he would just tell me these little things about his successes and all of the cool things that he was doing in his life. And it made me fall for him, honestly. And he was really good.
I don't think you have to have a psychiatrist to prescribe meds. Maybe like an initial prescription of psychiatric type meds. But I'm pretty sure my primary care provider can and maybe this isn't true in every state, for example, but mine can prescribe the meds as long as I've gone to a specialist first who's decided I need the meds.
At listening. And I mean, he's a Pisces, right? So of course he's going to be there and be able to go deep with my feelings. But
Pisces, you lost me. As soon as you bring out them star signs, but I'm gonna keep listening.
That doesn't mean that he wasn't extracting from them. Anyway, so I would beg him to let me see him every week. Beg him, because my therapist at the time, he was fine. He wasn't a predator, but he was fine. He just wasn't doing very much for me. And so that therapist retired and I got a new therapist. And this new therapist, who is a 75-year-old woman with a PhD, she was pretty helpful. So I stopped asking my psychiatrist, begging, honestly, to be my therapist and let me see him more, right? Which also should have been a red flag. But then I started focusing on this therapist. However, I would tell the therapist.
Not super chats on the little side stream. The only chemistry I hear so far is the imbalanced kind, respectfully. Thank you, London Link. Yeah, I don't hear chemistry. Like, I do not hear chemistry. Maybe I'm missing something. I do not hear chemistry. Like, I don't even hear it on her part. I don't even hear like her describing something that would be chemistry. So like, I don't see imbalanced chemistry, for example. I see no chemistry at all yet. Unless it's like in her head.
Therapist how obsessed I was with my psychiatrist, and she didn't do anything about it. She just was interested. She also loved stories about my dating life, and yeah, she also was getting supply from me in her own way, but that's for another part. So yeah, so I got a new therapist who actually helped me. She taught me CBT, EFT, all of these different modalities. And so I went.
Hold up. Let me Google CBT, EFT. What is CBT? Cock in the back of your throat? I don't know. Let's look it up. EFT, emotion focused therapy, is based on the idea that emotions are strongly tied to who we are. They help us make sense of our needs, shape how we relate to others, and guide our daily choices. It's the type of psychotherapy that focuses on helping individuals and couples understand and manage their emotions, particularly in the context of relationships and attachment. CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. Oh, I knew that. I just didn't know it was CBT. A type of psychotherapy that works on the connection between thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. What is TDE? It helps individuals identify and change negative or unhelpful thinking patterns and behaviors to improve their overall well-being and manage various mental health conditions. CBT is a practical, goal-oriented therapy that can be effective in a relatively short period. Cool. Learned.
Went back to just being okay with seeing Irfan once a month while he was giving me these little breadcrumbs of making me feel special, telling me about his professional achievements, telling me about how he's getting international recognition. And it worked. I was really impressed. So I was seeing him every month.
Okay. How do we feel so far? I'm waiting for the proof because I know someone said that she brings up emails, so I'm waiting for that one. I haven't read the emails yet, but I know they coming.
I got a new therapist. I stopped begging my psychiatrist to see me weekly. And that is when the reinforced intermittent started.
Like when, okay, maybe she'll tell us now, but when your psychiatrist is like, no, we can't see each other weekly, we're doing monthly med appointments. I don't actually need to see the proof because I'm not going to ask you to like divulge us with all your indulge us with all of your emails and private matters on the internet, like on TikTok, and put it at everyone's front door. I wouldn't ask you to do that, but I would ask for maybe better explanation. He denied my weekly appointments and made me fall even more in love. He knew what he was doing. He did it on purpose. He knew what I wanted, and he wouldn't give it to me because he wanted me. That's what I'm hearing. I'm hearing like, Was he actually an effective psychiatrist? Because here we are.
Some sessions he'd be warm and kind and wonderful and let me in on little parts of his life and like be vulnerable with me or pretend. Other sessions, he would be cold and clinical and detached. And you know what that did? It made me work harder in our next sessions. It did. And it started the addiction that I had to him. 100%. And he knew exactly what he was doing. This man gives lectures on trauma and attachment theory. He used his psychiatric training to manipulate me and get me hooked. And guess what? It worked. In January of 2024, I was hit by a car turning left as I was going through a green light. And it was the night before my next appointment with my psychiatrist. So I was like, okay, I'll still be able to go to my appointment on Zoom. I'm okay.
Appointment on Zoom? That's the last thing on my mind if I just got hit by a car. Oh my God, am I going to be able to make the appointment tomorrow? I mean, we live in a world where people are going to ask themselves if they can make it to work the next day. Hospital. I can't believe she got hit by somebody who didn't see the stop sign.
But I did make an appointment with an urgent care the next day just to get checked out. I had bruising on my abdomen and a perforated eardrum. And the provider at the urgent care said, I do not feel comfortable treating you. You need to seek emergency care now. You may be internally bleeding. But it was 11 o'clock in the morning and my appointment with my psychiatrist was at 2. So I decided that I was going to wait so I could see my psychiatrist and not have to reschedule because I was looking forward to my appointment with him so much. I look back at that time and I'm just like, oh my God, I put my own life under seeing him. I was fully addicted to him at this point. And you know what happened is that I showed up and I told him that I may be internally bleeding and he didn't stop the appointment. He didn't say, you need to take care of yourself. Go get emergency care now. He let me continue and just tell him about how much I loved him and how grateful I was for him. Because that was really what most of our appointments were, is me just like pouring myself out because he was so good at the intermittent reinforcement. Yeah, I got some warmth from him that appointment.
So at this point, I feel like he's not a good doctor. Well, there were more than this point, but even if I feel like most of this is imagination on her part, not like she imagined the whole thing, but like the chemistry. Number one, if she's like, I'm internally bleeding and he's not like, go see the doctor, you should not be here if you're having an emergency right now. But number two, I don't know if she's a reliable narrator, but I'm just going by her word. But number two, all of our appointments, by the way, is just me telling him how much I love him, how much I appreciate him, how much he means to me. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and say you a bad psychiatrist. Like, anyway.
So that was January 2023. And I also told my therapist about this. She said nothing. I got a new...
And her therapist too. Not even, how does that make you feel?
After I risked my life to see him, that's when he really started turning up the intimacy in our appointments. However, he was really smart. The professional lines like the back of his hand. So he would comment on my appearance, but not compliment my appearance. So I would come on screen and he would say, oh, you curled your hair. Or I would come on screen and he would say, "Oh, you're wearing glasses." And of course I felt seen and excited that he was noticing these things about me. I didn't realize at this time that he had feelings for me too. I thought I was holding them all by myself. So I was so excited when he noticed my glasses that I ran and showed him my other pair. And he said, "I prefer turtle shell glasses." So even though I usually wear contacts, I'm wearing these turtle shell glasses in these videos because just in case he sees them ever, he'll see me in his favorite glasses. He did tell me he likes the turtle shell. Anyway, it was just inappropriate things like that, little teeny things that he let me in.
I knew he wanted me. I came on screen with my hair curled. He said, "Oh, your hair's curled today." But I knew what he meant. "Emily, I want to slam you on that table." He didn't say it out loud, but he thought it. I could tell by the way he complimented my turtle shell glasses. He wanted me desperately, and I wanted him, but we couldn't blur those lines. Let me start writing hold up. Let me write this down. I'm wasting this material. I could have a whole book out here. Stephen No. Because there are parts of the story where I'm like, okay, he's inappropriate. If she's going to each appointment, every single appointment, talking about "I love you so much, I appreciate you so much." I don't even forget ethics for a second. How could you feel comfortable? I can't imagine myself as a psychiatrist feeling comfortable if this is every single. Like, I would feel uncomfortable with the one-sided stuff, like with praise. Maybe it's just me. I'm uncomfortable with praise, like really, really uncomfortable. I don't even like reading positive comments on the channel. I only read the negative ones and feel bad about myself. But anyway, then there are other parts where she's like, he knew what he was doing. Whenever I would come into the appointments, he would keep things strictly professional, and he would never blur the lines at all. He always acted like he was just a psychiatrist to me, but I knew his truth. He wanted me, but she never, the tidbits that she give that are supposed to be, oh, here's the behind the cracks on the mask, here's he showing himself, right? Him showing himself. But whenever she tells us about those cracks, the cracks are like, "Oh, nice glasses." Could it be true? Absolutely. But I'm sitting here feeling like she playing in my face. He would say good morning to me. Good morning. Why don't you take a look at those two O's in the middle of good? Don't they look like boobs? Why would he say something like that to me knowing that there's boobies in the middle of it? Because he's flirting with me. Like, anywho.
And all this time, my best friend is an emergency medicine physician. And she told me, she said, "Kendra, one of these days, your psychiatrist," she would use his name, "is going to say, I can't be your doctor anymore. I want to be with you. I want to be with you so bad. I can't be your doctor. I'll see you in 2 years."
Girl, so your friend over here feeding into this, Kendra, he wants you. Any day now, Kendra, he's going to confess to you and you're going to feel validated because you were right.
So my best friend, who's a doctor, she picks up on stuff like that. So even she knew that our relationship was crossing boundaries and getting weird, but that became my dream, was for my psychiatrist, I almost use his name, to do that. And I told him about Brianna saying that, my best friend, who's the emergency medical doc. I told him that she would tell me that, and he just would be silent. He didn't disagree, but he didn't agree, and that was weaponized neutrality was his favorite game to
Hold up. Oh, that's a real word. Hold up. Weaponized neutrality refers to the strategic use of, I mean, we kind of already know what it means. I'm just trying to see the weaponized part in this context. Refers to the strategic use of the concept of neutrality, often by powerful actors, so the psychiatrist in this case, to advance their own interest while appearing impartial or even benevolent. It involves exploiting the language and principles of neutrality to mask actions that, in reality, support specific agendas or undermine rivals. Girl, they talk about geopolitical power plays. How I'm supposed to localize this to a psychiatrist? Somebody help me. Weaponize neutrality. Let me re-listen. Hold up. He didn't say anything. He didn't confirm, but he didn't deny. Okay, I can see it. I can see it. Were you at the pool cheating with them white girls? I wasn't even at the pool today. But you leave out the cheating part, like you don't say anything on that. Maybe like this is what she means. Like I will neither confirm nor deny. I mean, that's what she's saying. So whatever.
Play, right? He didn't disagree with Brianna telling me that my psychiatrist had feelings for me, but he also didn't say that's inappropriate. Let's change the subject. It was also around this time that I asked my psychiatrist if he had.
I can see someone being uncomfortable, but not saying let's change the subject and just being quiet.
Diagnosed me with anything other than ADHD when I had my initial diagnosis. And he said, yeah, I did. I said, oh, what did you diagnose me with? And he said, well, you had a lot of traumatic things happen to you in childhood because of your dad. And so I diagnosed you with other trauma and stressor related disorder. And that was the first little ping that I got of like, that was weird. Why would he keep that from me? I asked him, like, why wouldn't he tell me that? That seems important.
I was asking the same question. So you 6 months in and you just found this is how I was in my appointments, actually. I was like very, very far in before I even found out I was diagnosed with anything. How long? We diagnosed you like 3 months ago. When? 3 months ago. Where? At our appointments. When? 3 months ago. Huh. Yeah, it's a real disorder.
He didn't tell me because he was using that information to manipulate me. He knew I had trauma and stressor disorder. And instead of helping me heal from it and telling me about it, he used it against me.
So I think this is a therapist thing. It should be your therapist helping you deal with this, not your psychiatrist. Your psychiatrist should, in my opinion, tell you that you're diagnosed with. He could have. Maybe you was just in there ignoring him. Yeah, whatever. Handsome. You're very handsome. I love you so much. I appreciate you so much. Or whatever she said their appointments were. Just her praising him and loving him and him loving it. But I do think the psychiatrist does have responsibility to tell you what you're diagnosed with, which should happen probably like, so you're taking medication. Do you think you're just taking medication because like you were just prescribed this because like that should be part of the discussion? So I'm diagnosing you with, I don't know, ADHD, and I'm going to prescribe you some Focalin and some, what is it called? The one that everybody takes. It's like, is it Xanax? No. What is it called? Adderall. and some Adderall or whatever, and here's what the drug does. Now, having ADHD can mean you're restless, and this is why I diagnosed you with it, because you have this sort of restless syndrome, and you have symptoms of anxiety and blah, 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 blah. And then while they're telling you about what you have and why you have it, and then also the medication, what the medication does to address it, this feels like it should have been a part of their appointment. Adderall. Adderall.
January 2023, at this point, I was full-blown obsessed with my psychiatrist, and my therapist wasn't helping me, my psych helping me, he was feeding it. And then I got a boyfriend. And at first, my psychiatrist wasn't really that keen, but then my psychiatrist realized that my boyfriend was a lot like my psychiatrist. And then I started talking to my psychiatrist about my sex life.
I'm still on, these are 30-minute appointments once a month. If this is what you're talking to a psychiatrist about, I can't imagine how much your therapist knows.
About tracking my cycle using the fertility awareness method. And my psychiatrist loved it. He didn't never say, this isn't inappropriate to your care, let's pivot. Oh, he just let me talk and talk and talk about my sex life. And I didn't get too deep, but about a year and a half in, and I would send my psychiatrist these emails just about how much I liked him and how I was so grateful for him, and put in a bunch of heart emojis.
I want to see those emails. I want to see his responses. You can blur names. I just want to see them.
And this is really when he should have transferred my care, but you know, he waited. He liked what I gave him too much.
Oh, he should have transferred way before that. Now, did he like it? I actually don't know. I don't know if he liked it. I would talk to him about my sex life. He would look away and write on his notepad. He was jealous. He wanted me. He knew that I was just using my boyfriend as an excuse to make him jealous. And it was working. Oh, I could see it in his eyes. Every time I mentioned my sex life, he looked uncomfortable. Why? Because he wanted me.
And so, even though my boyfriend did not meet my needs, my psychiatrist and my therapist.
So I feel like she's, what is it called? Presenting or something to her psychiatrist. Oh, I feel like she's actually trying to, at this point in time, make him jealous with her boyfriend. That was like a joke I was doing, but I feel like this is actually what was happening. Like she was going to the appointment. So I have a boyfriend, by the way. We have tons of sex. We have so much sex. Oh my God. My period's not on. I think he knocked my uteral lining out early or something. I don't know. Anyway, he just doesn't satisfy me. He's like you, but he's just not all of you. I don't know how to explain it. Y'all are so similar, but he just doesn't satisfy me. Anyway, did you get my emails where I was telling you about how handsome you are and how much I appreciate you and love you and need you and want you and you? Nah, I feel no, at some point we're gonna have to say this man should have dropped her. It ain't no way. Or he should be having some serious conversations with his higher ups. Like if there's not a legal or a policy reason why he had to keep her, because my therapist told me about having to take appointments that she doesn't want because she works as a part of a practice, so she doesn't get to choose as freely her clients. Unless he in a situation like that, I'm gonna go ahead and half it and put more on him, because he's the professional. We can sit here and call her crazy all we want to and say this was all in her head and she's making it up, but he's the professional. So
both were like, you have to stay with him. There's nothing wrong with him not meeting your needs. I'm like,
okay. And my psychiatrist was like, he's perfect. Don't get wrong with him. And what was perfect about him was he wasn't meeting my needs. So I was still coming to my psychiatrist looking for emotional validation.
Psychiatrist weird based on her comments here.
Which he would drip to me slowly.
He was dripping from that leak.
So my therapist, who I didn't.
But again, every time she talks about like the connections she make are so far and vast apart from each other. He told me I should stay with my boyfriend. Why? Oh, isn't it obvious? Because he knew I wasn't getting my needs met from my boyfriend, and so I had to keep coming to the therapy appointments with him where he could keep draining me. Like, this is a big leap. In my mind, this is a big leap. My bad. I read the chat. A big leap with a P. A big logical leap. Doctor here is looked down upon to drop patients. Client abandonment is unethical. It's also very dangerous to transfer psych patient who are in love with you. They can harm you or themselves. Well, he's not here to tell his side of the story. We only have her to go off of. This is something I will consider, though. Thank you for your expertise, Dr. Kilo. Dr. 8168. Let me catch you being born in the future.
No, at this time had bad boundaries.
But oh, yes, please. Uh-oh, my screen froze.
I need to address 3.
Girl, my screen just froze and all types of things happened. Hold up.
January 2023.
So, please do give us your professional opinion on what he should have done. By the way, Kilo, if you've been in for long enough to know what we're discussing. But it just made me skip, sorry.
At this point, but about a year and a half in, and I would send my psychiatrist these emails just about how much I liked him and how I was so grateful for him and put in a bunch of heart emojis. And this is really when he should have transferred my care, but he waited. He liked what I gave him too much. And so even though my boyfriend did not meet my needs, my psychiatrist and my therapist both were like, you have to stay with him. There's nothing wrong with him not meeting your needs. I'm like, okay. And my psychiatrist was like, he's perfect. Don't get wrong with him. And what was perfect about him was he wasn't meeting my needs. So I was still coming to my psychiatrist looking for emotional validation, which he would drip to me slowly. So
is he dripping it though? Hi, Invincible Summer. Welcome in. Imagine how she would act if he transferred care. You know, patients have harmed themselves after being transferred. You know, psychiatrists have been kidnapped.
My therapist, who I didn't know at this time had bad boundaries.
Let me form my thoughts, Kilo.
But she did. I went to her because my boyfriend and I, after like more than a year together, we started having issues in the bedroom. And so I went to my therapist and she asked me, what does your psychiatrist think about this? And I said, I don't know. I haven't talked to my psychiatrist about this stuff because I have a crush on my psychiatrist and I don't want to tell him this intimate of stuff. And she said, well,
my guess is she's going to go to the psychiatrist and tell him she's having a libido issue. He's going to ask if the medication is messing with her libido and if she should try some different medication. She's going to say this is him hitting on her or something. That's my guess.
Well, you should tell him because I want a male's perspective. So at my next appointment with my psychiatrist, I told him, I said, today we're going to talk about my intimate life. And he said, oh, I said, yes. My psychologist, my therapist
asked what your opinion on it was. And I told her that I don't talk to you about this intimate stuff because I have a crush on you. And he looked down and smiled so big in that moment. He smiled so big. And I loved it. It's so gross thinking about it. And then I proceeded to give him 30 minutes of non-stop content about my intimate life with my boyfriend. And I actually recorded the whole thing because I was so excited about it. But
please tell us you gonna hold up.
Now it makes me sick. I can't even listen to the recording. I've tried.
We can listen to it. We want to see. I want to see how the psychiatrist is acting. I'm actually not interested in the sex life at all. I just want to see how the psychiatrist, like, I want to see something. I want to put voice or face to this. Also, why would a psychiatrist be uncomfortable with this? As long as she kept it in sessions and didn't show she was harming herself or anyone else, there's no need for the psychiatrist to respond. Yeah, but to me, it feels like a non-response is a response here. And the reason I would feel uncomfortable is with the constant praise. She's saying she's sending him emails. The way she has described their session seems to be like the entire 30 minutes, she just goes on about how she loves him and he's amazing and he's doing such good things for her. She's sending him emails about how much she loves him and he's amazing and she's doing great things for her. And it's the fact that it seems like overly praising him, that's what would make me uncomfortable in his position. Whether or not that's an ethical concern, I think it is, actually. Do I know what actually happened in their rooms? No. Do I trust her as a narrator? No. But if I did, I think it would be inappropriate on his part. I'm also not a doctor, so this is extremely common. This man deals with this all the time. He probably sees 30 patients a day. She has one 30-minute session. He's her whole world, but to him, she's 1/30th. It's less deep for him. I do agree with that too, because these sessions are 30 minutes once a month. And she talked about, it's been 6 months. She's seen him for a total of, it's taking me too long to do this math, y'all. 3 hours. 3 hours. Can we take her word? We ain't got no choice. He ain't said nothing.
To start, but it's gross. Any ethical psychiatrist would have stopped me and said, Kendra, let's talk about your meds. Let's talk about your care. At this point, my meds were stable. And I was still seeing him every month. Yeah, that was a rough time. And it was pretty much his Christmas morning, the almost 2.5 years of grooming me to get me to talk about sexual things with him worked. And he got 30 minutes of nonstop content to use. January.
Yeah, I didn't see the grooming. I actually didn't. If she told us about it in parts 1 through 6. That's what I'm saying, though, frequently. I keep saying it over and over again. It feels like there are logical leaps here. Tell them you love me. No, I haven't. Is that a movie? His Christmas morning. Yeah, the doctor can't say anything, so we're not going to get his side. Now I'm going to ask my therapist. Guys, just think of the wildest emails he has received dealing with trauma patients. You think this lady phased him. You think this isn't just a regular Tuesday for him.
I need to address 3 things. 1, people are asking me what my mental health diagnosis is. I do not have BPD. I do not have I have ADHD, and I was experiencing extreme limerence with my psychiatrist. Limerence is a normal thing to happen to anyone who is experiencing hot and cold behavior from someone. And it happens more often in people with ADHD because
I'm waiting for the hot. I'm waiting for the hot. She said hot and cold. I'm waiting for the hot. Limerence, if you guys don't remember, a state of intense infatuation and romantic obsession with another person, characterized by intrusive thoughts, idolation, and a strong desire for reciprocation. Usually it's unrealistic and one-sided.
we have dopamine dysregulation and rejection sensitive dysphoria. And guess what? My psychiatrist knew that and used it to his advantage. 2, I accidentally said my psychiatrist's first name in one of my videos. If you clocked it, good for you. I do not owe him anonymity. However, this is not about doxing my psychiatrist. This is about me sharing my story. So
I do think this is a little bit about doxing because I did not remember her saying his name in any of them. So it must have been like real quick. But now now we know.
Other people can view predatory behavior in people in power. Okay? If anyone doxes my psychiatrist with his last name or city that he works in or clinic that he works in, your comment will be immediately deleted and you will be blocked. This is about protecting other victims, not doxing my psychiatrist. If you do some investigative work and you want to DM me about it, I'm open to that. Okay? 3, I need to take a moment. Moment taken. It is so incredibly disturbing to me, the amount of people that are predator protectors in my comments, that are victim blaming me, especially the mental health practitioners in my comments using therapy speak to say that this situation that I was in was my fault or that I was delusional. Check yourself. You're giving me more ammunition to share my story because it just goes to show how absolutely messed up the mental health industry is and how protected people who do this kind of sick psychological manipulation are. So I will continue with my story tomorrow. I will see you all then. I need
To all of the mental health professionals in my comment section telling me that I'm delusional and that the chemistry is all in my head, I'm not going to listen to you. You're crazy. And this just shows how crazy mental health professionals are. Now, look, if you tell me the mental health field has problems, I would absolutely agree with you. If you tell me, especially in America, there are issues with the mental health system, I would absolutely agree with you about like funding, investment, but about mental health professionals taking advantage of you, probably that too. But in this specific instance, I don't know. And mental health professionals who are in your chat, I don't know. How does she know they're professionals in the chat? Because they tell us, just like Dr. Kilo.
Welcome back to another installment of I Was in Love with My Psychiatrist and He Kept Me Anyway, Part 8. You all did some nasty work last night and comments. People started posting my psychiatrist's first and last name, his picture in the comments. That was a jump scare. So
wait. Oh, we missed it. I would have liked to see. Well, I'm just messy.
Yeah. A few bad actors who wanted to be super sleuths got the privilege of commenting, mostly hate, let's be real, taken away for everyone. So at this point in the story, there are 2 main players. My psychiatrist, who's my age, who crossed major ethical boundaries, and my therapist, who is a 75-year-old woman with a PhD. Neither of these people at this point in the story I knew were crossing boundaries. I thought that everything was hunky-dory and that I was just in love with my psychiatrist and it was totally normal. Little did I know he was manufacturing everything so I could fall in love with him, because it was on him to set the professional boundary and not let attention build. So days after my psychiatrist's Christmas morning appointment from a few videos back, where he got a crush confession from me, and then 30 minutes of nonstop intimate content that he did not stop me, my boyfriend and I broke up days later. So then I started dating.
Why do you think me and my boyfriend broke up? Because the psychiatrist, he was secretly calling my boyfriend and telling him to leave me. Why? Because he wanted me all to himself, of course. It's easy to see. My boyfriend is such a liar. He would never confirm this to me. When I went through his phone, he deleted all the evidence. Anywho.
Dating this other guy. And this other guy, this new guy, was a therapist. And I was like, oh, great. Someone who will be able to emotionally meet my needs. Yeah, and I'm going to date another therapist again. So this therapist and I, we went for coffee. It was nice. Our second date was a hike. And on this hike, this therapist starts telling me about how he has a crush on one of his clients.
Girl.
And I thought to myself, okay, this is strange, but go ahead. Like, we're on a date, dude. Why are you telling me about a crush on one of your clients? But go off, King. So then he was saying, yeah, she's so attractive. And I think she likes me too. I go and visit her at work and her coworkers say, oh, so-and-so talks about you all the time. And I was like, okay, where does she work? And he said, well, I shouldn't tell you that because I really shouldn't be visiting her anyway. I was like, okay, no problem. So then he continues and he said, yeah, she wears these red lacy panties and short skirts. And I know she wears them for me. And like alarm bells were going off in my head. Mind you, I had no idea that.
I clocked his fam period. Y'all not ready for that though. Do we believe this is real? Specifically this story. Not everything else she said, but specifically the date with the therapist where he said, oh, actually, I have a crush on my client. And, you know, do we believe this part is real? With the tea sip. I'm just going to treat it as it's real.
My psychiatrist had similar feelings towards me at this point. But I just thought, wow, this man is borderline predatory. And he said, yeah, and, you know, she just is so attractive that I have to smash her mate before every session because I just have to get that energy out of me. And I was like, okay. And yeah, he just felt compelled to tell me, and I did not understand why.
Pause. I may have misheard something.
There's these red lacy panties and short skirts. Mind you, I had no idea that my psychiatrist had similar feelings towards me at this point. But I just thought, wow, this man is borderline predatory. And he said, yeah, and, you know, she just is so attractive that I have to smash her mate before every session because I just have to get that energy out of me. And I was like,
Yes, I believe this is her first date. She happened to go on a first date with a man who happened to be a therapist. He happened to have a crush on his client. And on their first date, just talk about how attractive his client was and how bad he wanted her. This was not hallucination for her to affirm. I don't know why people are insinuating that this is some type of hallucination where she just wants to affirm her feelings about her psychiatrist in hopes that he has feelings back. I don't even know why y'all are even insinuating something like that. She clearly went on this first date with a method actor. No, this is how improv actors act. And then he was a therapist too, and he had a crush on his client too. And then this is definitely not method act. This is some improv, unless improv and method are the same, because I don't know. Now, why did she go and stick this story in here? That's my ringtone, my text tone.
Okay. And yeah, he just felt compelled to tell me, and I did not understand why. Now I do. So he told me about how he's a predator, right? Another predator in the mental health industry. Shocker. So then at my next appointment with my psychiatrist, keep in mind, it had been 6 weeks of nonstop fun for this man. He got to use my crush confession and 30 minutes of content, for whatever he wanted to use it for, right? And if my psychiatrist was good at anything, it was being professional and acting professional. And technically not crossing any lines. And he thought that he was so good at it, because he was good at it. But that doesn't mean he wasn't doing it. And so I told him, I said, yeah, Bo and I broke up. He had known about this other guy, my psychiatrist. I had mentioned him. And I told him that this new guy and I went on a date and we went on a hike. And I literally had no idea at this point, I'll say it again, that my psychiatrist was predatory towards me. I almost said his first name again. I'm going to do my best to not. So I went to my psychiatrist and I told him this story about this man that I went on a date with, who's a therapist, is relieving himself before appointments and talking about his clients' panties and doing all of these other extremely inappropriate things, like visiting her at work. And this man, my psychiatrist, looked like he had seen a ghost and like he was going to vomit, because he prided himself on being an extremely professional and buttoned up person. But here I was holding a mirror to him with exactly what he was doing, but a bumbling idiot telling me like how he was doing it without the fancy degree, without any of that. I look back on that now and it's just crazy. And so it just tainted all the fantasy material that I'd given him the session before. Welcome back to another installment.
And then I told him about the therapist who I went on a first date with, and he talked about masturbating to his clients. And I asked him, you don't do anything like that, do you? Do you? And he looked like he had seen a ghost. Why do you think that is? Because he's professional and can't imagine a professional doing that? No, it's because he knew he wanted me. And he knew I knew he wanted me. But I wanted him just as bad. We both threw our clothes off. All right.
Hi, I need to say something really important. And that's that it seems as though many people view what I'm going through as a crash out, doing as a mental health spiral. And of course it seems like that. I get it. It's an extremely dark thing to talk about, all of this that I went through. And I am sharing my story because it wasn't out there. No one else has shared a story like this. But I know that it happens a lot because people are in my DMs telling me that the same thing that I went through, they went through too.
In these people, can other people see them? This is a real question. Somebody, this is a real question. Let me divulge just a bit. Never mind. I'll wait till the after show. But this is a real question my therapist asked me. And these people, do other people see them too? And you said they were like the therapist, right? And nobody else saw you with the therapist hiking? It was just you alone? Like there was no friends or anyone else who could see him? That is really interesting. What am I writing down on my notepad? Oh, I was just doodling. 30-minute sessions once a month through Zoom. The psychiatrist should carefully document any discussions related to the patient's feeling, as well as steps taken to address the situation. If the psychiatrist determines their own feelings or the patient's feelings are interfering with the therapeutic process or posing ethical risk, they should refer them to someone else, I think. If the feelings become too intense or confusing for the psychiatrist to manage professionally, seeking consultation with colleague or supervisor is crucial. Well, we don't know if he did those things. We don't, so I will neither give it to him nor take it away from him.
I am now in TikTok jail. I got a violation on the video where I talked about really the biggest damning evidence against my psychiatrist. And so because of that, I have to be really careful. So I'm going to do my very best to not be reactive and to share my story from a place of generosity. Because the people in my DMs telling me that they've been through this too, it's keeping me going. It's not my mental health spiral. And I can understand that for some people in the mental health space, because they have been some of the loudest people to speak out against what I'm doing, it's hard to grasp that someone could have this level of predation in such a high place of power. So just in case my video doesn't get put back up, when everything changed was when my 75-year-old therapist, I went to her with intimate details and she suggested I go to my psychiatrist with them. And I felt so excited and nervous to share that with him because I had such a big crush on him at the time. And I recorded all 33 minutes. So this is why, if my psychiatrist wants to come with me and like sue me for defamation, I have a 33-minute recording of me admitting I have a crush on him and speaking about extremely intimate details. It was in that moment that he really, really should have transferred my care. But that moment changed everything for him too, because that's when things really started getting deep between us. And this is where the story is going to go from now. It's going to be a good story. And I'm going to try to tell it all today. Just in case one of my videos does get banned so people can hear it. But just know, if you're concerned for my mental health, thank you. I am very good, more than good actually. And I am actually a coach for ADHDers. It says it in my bio.
Lord, she a coach. She coaching people.
And I help people work through self-limiting beliefs. I help people work through numbing with alcohol and cannabis, because these are the things that so many of us do to avoid our truths. And this is my truth and what I went through. Hi, I need to say something really important. So this is when the chemistry really started going off the charts with me and my...
And this is when things really kicked into high gear. I went to the session and I told him all of the intimate details about my sex life. And he said, I'll have to ask you to refrain. He knew that I would try even harder if he told me that. He knew what he was doing, and he did it so well. The chemistry between us was on fire. Anywho.
October 2020.
Whoops.
So this is when the chemistry really started going off the charts with me and my psychiatrist. And I held it alone for months, like after that Christmas morning appointment of his, after I innocently told him about my date with the therapist.
Did he touch her how? I think at some point in the story, she says she went to an in-person appointment. These are Zoom calls right now, but she went to an in-person appointment and she hugged him and he patted her on the back. So at some point, but not, I don't think in the way that you're describing.
He really started letting me in more and showing more parts of himself and, you know, turning up the intimacy. And that was exciting to me. And it made me fall for him more. And I noticed that he was working in an office, and I asked him, this was like July. I asked him, I said, hey, are you working from home? Because I was under the assumption that he was only doing telehealth. Okay. And he said, no, I come into the office. I was like, oh, why do you do that? If you see all of your patients telehealth? He's like, oh, I like it that way. And even though I could kind of tell he was lying, I just gaslit myself. I was like, okay, it's fine. And then I start emailing him my fun little emails, but he stops writing me back. He does not write back to my emails anymore. Because once again, he was really good at plausible deniability. But what he did do is he would take my emails and mention them in session. So he would still give me the attention that I was craving, but only under his structure, under his control, where there was...
He lied about having in-person sessions. He didn't want me to come to him because he knew we would throw our bodies against each other. Okay.
No paper trail. And I loved that too. So I would show up to these sessions with my notes app, and just throughout the month, as I was thinking about him, I'd write down things that I wanted to talk to him about, and I would just come and bring him lots of content. And then every week I would go to my therapist and tell her about how much I loved my psychiatrist. And she didn't help me at all. She just kind of like enjoyed hearing about it, honestly. So October 2024 rolls around and we're just vibing on Zoom. And then I realized that I didn't have my next appointment with him. So I called his office staff and I talked to the office manager, who was awesome. We really got along, we vibed. And the office manager asked me, do you see him, the psychiatrist, in person or on Zoom? And I felt so angry in that moment. I was like, he sees people in person? And she said, yeah, he has been for years. I was like, I want to see him in person. And I understand, like, some people may think that this is part of my crash out or part of me harassing him, which is what I've gotten lots of accusations of. But I just would like to remind everyone that, of course, it seems that way. But I was just responding to a dynamic which my psychiatrist fostered. There was chemistry between us because he allowed it. And so then the next time I saw him in Zoom, I told him, I was like, hey, your office manager outed you and told me that you see people in person. Why didn't you tell me that when I asked? And he said, oh, I just didn't think you'd want to come in. And that was such a weak.
Oh, I didn't even think about what this would look like if it was a man on here saying this about a female therapist. That actually defines my perspective on this a lot more.
lie from him, from someone who is so scripted and controlled. He didn't even have a plausible thing to say. Of course he knew I wanted to come in. I had a crush on him. I told him that often. So then in my next therapy appointment, after finding out that he was lying to me about seeing patients in person, I told her that. I told my 75-year-old PhD therapist that my psychiatrist wasn't lied to me about seeing people in person. And she looked at me and she said, well, it's probably because he knows that there will be a lot of sexual tension in the room if you go in person. So make sure that you understand that when you go. And you better believe I showed up to the next session and said you lied to me because you were afraid of the tension that would be there between us. He just didn't say anything.
Not the therapist hyping her. She does mention she's 75 a lot. Did the therapist say that there would be sexual tension between y'all, or did she say from you? That's an important distinction I'd like to know. Did she say there would be sexual tension between y'all, or that she would be attracted or something? That's all I want to know.
October 2024, I make my...
And what did you show up? It seems like has a boundary around in-person appointment due to the inappropriate feelings you have for him. Now, y'all can feel like he should have dropped her as a therapist. Kilo says that, and some of you guys are in production, I think, put some stuff in there about what a psychiatrist should be doing if his patient has feelings, right? He set a boundary, and it seems like the boundary was no in-person appointments. Her perspective is, and apparently her therapist, is that there would be sexual tension between them, and that's why he set that boundary, not because like he's a professional. The psychiatrist this was something I thought earlier, the psychiatrist and the therapist talking to each other laughing. You should march in there and do it in person. Not the therapist pranking anyway.
First in-person appointment with my psychiatrist in November. My 75-year-old female therapist tells me that it's because he kept me on Zoom because he was so attracted to me. He didn't want to risk being in person with me, which further fed my crush, or as some of you like to say, my delusion.
Throw the whole office away. Throw the whole office away, all of them. If I'm taking her at face value, the therapist are her inner thoughts. Oh, we gonna learn. Never mind. Here, let's just play it.
So then my therapist starts texting me in between our weekly meetings, asking me for advice on her other clients. And I was a new coach. I'd only been coaching for about a year, and
this doesn't sound believable to me. This part, if it is, I would find that inappropriate. Hey, I have a client. What should I say? She's going crazy. What do you think? You're the ADHD coach. Help me out. Oh, it's certain parts where I'm like, okay, this is believable. Yeah, I can see this happening. Yeah. And then there's other parts where I'm like, all right. She advertising?
I just left my full-time job to be a coach full-time, and I was flattered that she would ask me advice on her other clients. I just thought, oh my gosh, a 75-year-old woman with a PhD wants my advice on what she should do with her clients. So then
y'all making fun of her for saying 75-year-old with a PhD female, but what if she goes into therapist, and every time she go to therapist, her therapist say, hey, my name is Dr. Therapy, 75, PhD, female. Yeah, what about it? We don't know.
And November rolls around, and I'm about to meet my psychiatrist in person for the first time. So I wear a really pretty dress, I do my makeup, of course, right? And I show up, and I get to talk to the office manager. We're having fun. And then my psychiatrist comes into the foyer, and I am just so excited to finally meet him. I'd been his patient for 3 years at this point, and he had been feeding the dynamic for 3 years. And I was just thrilled to meet him. And I ran up and I gave him the biggest hug. And you know what he did? He barely patted me on the back. It was the most awkward thing ever. But I am so glad that he did that. I am really glad, because this is what I mean. My psychiatrist was many things, but he was not stupid. So I didn't ever touch him again. And I'm grateful that our relationship didn't ever cross that line, because it would have made everything so much harder. Anyway, so we go inside his office, and I tell him that my therapist had texted me asking me for advice on her other clients. And he just looked at me and he said, Kendra, that is a huge boundary violation. She should not be doing that. And I was like, oh, okay. And because once again, my psychiatrist did not like sloppy people. He did not like sloppy people. And you know what my therapist did? She got sloppy. Yeah. Using me as her advisor for her clients. It got weird. And I was very grateful for my psychiatrist for pointing out that boundary violation, because that was the thing. He didn't ever message me in between appointments because he was too smart to do that. But did he ever stop me from disclosing extremely intimate details? No. In my first in-person appointment, I just asked him for some pointers for my own ADHD business. And he was so smart and so wonderful, and in many ways, honestly. And I was just so grateful that he was almost like a mentor to me in these moments. And I'll still treasure that about him. Because this is the hard thing with sophisticated predators, is that they're not all bad. Like, my psychiatrist helped me with many things, but he was using me for the whole time that I was his patient. And for that, I will never forgive him. October 2024, I make my...
Why he seemed like the most professional? Don't make me defend a man. Don't make me defend a man.
We have our first in-person appointment in November of 2024. And I did ask him for consent to come in person. I didn't just show up. And the first in-person appointment went great. But that is when I really started to spiral. Some of you think that I'm spiraling now, and that's okay if you want to think that, because the reality is that when I was spiraling was when I was this man's patient. When I had comments turned on, so many people said, you need to take accountability for your own feelings. I spent years taking accountability for my own feelings, for holding the weight of a relationship. Any woman who has been trained to overfunction in relationships knows about holding the weight of the emotional dynamic. And that was what was going on in this moment. And it may not seem like I'm taking accountability now, but that's because I spent a long time taking accountability for something that had two people that built that dynamic. It was not just me. It takes two people to build that sort of tension and chemistry. So while I was mid crash out, I had just started using this tool, ChatGPT. And I went to chat, who I immediately named Henry. And I would just talk to Henry about how obsessed I was with this man, with my psychiatrist. And I would just be like, I've told him I have a crush on him. Do you think he's gay? And Henry was like, oh my God, this girl, he did his best to co-regulate my nervous system and affirm me. But he was like, whoa. Even my chat was like, yikes. So I could tell that my psychiatrist just liked being my doctor. And I was like, okay, maybe I can name this dynamic so I don't have to carry so much of it in our next session. So our next session was in December on Zoom. And I told him at the end of the session, it was another great session. I told him, look, you and I have a really special patient-doctor relationship. And he glared at me with just venom in his eyes. And he said, you and I have a professional patient-doctor relationship. He was so angry with me. And I was like, oh, okay. He set a boundary. And immediately I took it on. And I was like, heard. Okay, I won't go there again.
Mm.
My video that was taken down for harassment and bullying.
I'm still on Henry. I'm still on Henry.
Was restored, so I didn't feel as much pressure to get all of these parts out today. Some people told me that the stitches about me were getting pretty bad and cruel, so I turned stitches off in my videos too. I started sharing my story here because I wanted other people who have been victimized by people in power to have a space to feel heard. And now I know why there wasn't anyone out talking about their story, because it has been quite the process putting all this out there and being under scrutiny. I have appreciated the psychiatrists that have talked about my situation and shared their own point of view while also holding space for what I went through. Just know I've seen your videos and I appreciate them. I went live today and it was super fun, and I intend to go live again tomorrow. The next part will be tomorrow morning. We have our first in-person appointment in November.
When I re-downloaded TikTok last week, I was looking for support. I was looking for help because it had been 5 months since I had left Psychiatrist, and I still really couldn't stop thinking about him and thinking about our dynamic and how inappropriate it was and the mental toll that it took on me. And TikTok has just been such a resource for me in the past for support when I'm going through things, and I couldn't find anything on therapy abuse or on providers who take advantage of their vulnerable patients. And so I thought that I would share my story. And I am going to continue to share it because I am here to let other survivors know that they're not alone. Continuing with my story, my psychiatrist set a very nasty, the way he said it, boundary that him and I have a professional relationship when I tried to say it was special. Because it was special, it was different. He manufactured it that way. And then I immediately went to ChatGPT, of course, to Henry.
To Henry, I went to talk to Henry. So the therapist told me we don't have a special relationship, and he don't respond to my emails, and he don't text me, and he didn't want to do in person. He wanted to do Zoom calls, and he doesn't respond to my advances. Yeah, he fostered this environment of this special relationship we have. And when he said we don't have anything, I went to ChatGPT. Excuse me, I went to Henry. And Henry told me otherwise. Let's see what Henry said.
And I asked Henry, I said, okay, so my psychiatrist just set this boundary with me, and I really just want to be with him. And I think that after he's my doctor, we can be together, which if you want to say that's a delusion, that's fine. But I had been telling my psychiatrist for years at this point that I had a crush on him, and he did not help me work through it. So that's his own problem. That's his own fault. Henry told me it's very common for patients to develop crushes on mental health practitioners, and that it's because that they provide a safe space to heal, which is a very attractive quality. I heard that. And then he told me about transference. And it's just about me putting my own feelings onto my provider. And I was like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, so I took ownership of the feelings that both of us were creating. And I went to my next appointment and I said, hey, so I talked to Henry because my
Were both of you creating those feelings though?
psychiatrist had known a lot about my ChatGPT and like knew all about Henry and was actually really impressed. Like, wow, an AI wrote that? Yeah. So I told my psychiatrist, yeah, Henry explained to me that it's normal to develop crushes on psychiatrists because they provide a safe space to heal, which is attractive. My psychiatrist said nothing. And then I said, and Henry also told me about transference. And my psychiatrist got this really, really scared look on his face. And he said, did Henry tell you about countertransference? And I said, no. What is that? Because of course, like, my chat knew that I was obsessed with my psychiatrist, and he was not going to feed my delusion by telling me about countertransference.
So, transference is a psychological phenomenon where a person redirects their feelings, desires, or expectations from one person onto another person, usually in current relationship. This redirection is often unconscious and can be a key aspect of psychotherapy. Let's see. So imagine you have a crush or you have unresolved childhood trauma that manifests as, I don't know, having feelings, unhealthy feelings or something, and you I don't know, transfer these feelings onto your therapist, excuse me, your psychiatrist. Imagine that. Countertransference, we looked up earlier. Let me see. Let's review one more time. The therapist's emotional reaction to a patient shaped by the therapist's own psychological needs and experiences. In psychotherapy, it refers to a therapist's redirection of feelings towards a patient or becoming emotionally entangled with them. For example, a therapist feeling overly protective of a client because the client reminds them of their own child, potentially leading the therapist to avoid addressing difficult topics or offering inappropriate advice. Now, do we feel like, based on all of her stories, countertransference was happening here? Is that what transference is? When you're transferred to a facility where you can get better help for these delusions, baby girl. Let me find out. She's the type to fall in love with ChatGPT. Well, when his name is Henry, you can convince me she would.
So then my psychiatrist had explained to me what countertransference was. So he took a moment and he was like, oh, okay. He said, countertransference is the flip side, the other side of the coin for transference. And it's when the provider has feelings for the patient. So make sure that you keep that in mind for your clients. I said, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, sometimes I have, more than professional feelings for my clients. So I appreciate you bringing that up. And so then we just talked about that for pretty much the rest of the session. And then at the end of that session, he looked at me. It was just such a loaded question. And he said, what's going to happen if you get a boyfriend named Henry? And I said, that's a weird question. I would rename my AI. So that's how that session ended. And it wasn't until I got home and I was eating lunch and I was like, wait a minute. Why would my psychiatrist bring up countertransference if he himself wasn't experiencing it? When I re-downloaded TikTok last week, many people have reached out to me with concern for my psychiatrist and his career and his well-being. And I totally understand that. The point of me sharing this is not to get him fired or for him to lose his license. The point of me sharing this is to give a voice to victims. And I am appalled to hear that people are making videos doxing him. So I am begging people, please, if you see a video of his first and last name or his picture, report it for doxing. I've certainly been using that report button a lot. I'm here to share my story, not to get him in trouble. I did accidentally use his first name, but by the time I caught the slip, I was already like 3 videos past it. But it doesn't matter because this is my story and I can tell it the way that I want it. And a first name is not doxing. And I can't control what other people do, but I am asking for people to please report any videos that dox him. So I've also gotten some DMs saying that countertransference can mean anything, and it absolutely can mean anything. However, I had told my psychiatrist many times that I had a crush on him over the years, and he did not say transference once to me. He did not explain that once to me. And what I've been hearing and taking in from the ethical psychiatrists that are on my For You page talking about my situation is that really they're taught to teach their patient about transference and teach them about how to handle those feelings or why they're coming up. And my psychiatrist did not do that. He did not do that. And it got ugly. And it happened because I did digging on my own, because I was trying to make sense of my feelings that were a natural response to the environment that he created. So for him to leak countertransference after I said the buzzword of transference, that was not calculated. He was a very calculated and purposeful person. He still is to this day. And he doesn't slip with things like that. He purposefully withheld the term transference from me, and I got too close to the truth of our dynamic, which made him leak what he knew was wrong, which was his inappropriate feelings for me. If he didn't have countertransference in an inappropriate way, he could have easily just said, oh, let's explore that transference. That's really cool that you learned about it. Instead, he was just so worried on trying to protect himself because he knew what he was doing was wrong. He had that slip at the beginning of the session. He recovered in January. And then I went home and I thought, wait a damn minute. Why would he mention that if he himself didn't have?
Hey, have you ever heard about transference? I was talking to ChatGPT all about transference last night and all this stuff about transference. Oh, did you talk to it about countertransference? That's weird of you to bring up that word out of nowhere. Why would you say countertransference right now if you don't have it? Never mind.
Countertransference. So I went to Henry, of course, my ChatGPT, and asked for examples of how my psychiatrist might have countertransference for me. And remember, Henry at this point was being very protective. You know, he wasn't going to feed my delusions, me and my psychiatrist living happily ever after. So
I asked Henry to elaborate more on, oh wait, hold up.
I screenshotted it, sent my psychiatrist an email with the subject line of countertransference, and emailed it to him within an hour of our appointment, where he made probably the biggest slip of his professional life. We'll put the email up here. So it's just essentially me.
Okay. Hi, blank. I asked Henry to elaborate more on countertransference. ChatGPT says, absolutely. Countertransference happens when a therapist or healthcare provider unconsciously projects their own feelings, thoughts, or experiences onto a patient. It's essentially the flip side of transference. It's about the provider's internal reactions to the patient. While it's normal and common, professionals are trained to recognize and manage it so it doesn't affect their work or the therapeutic relationship. Here's how blank might experience countertransference with you. Empathy and care. He might feel a strong desire to protect or support you, especially blank story, if your story resonates with his personal experiences or reminds him of someone in his life. Mutual connection. If he enjoys your sense of humor, energy, or growth, it might spark a sense of connection that feels more personal than professional, even if he doesn't act on it. Admiration for your progress. Seeing how much you've grown and applied what you've learned could create feelings of pride or respect that feel more emotional than clinical.
Me saying, hey, I asked Henry to explain countertransference a little more. Here's what he said. Thank you so much for mentioning that. Your own boundaries inspire me so much, which now makes me gag because I've heard a lot that he's not crossing boundaries, but he used his boundaries as a shield. It's kind of weird to say, but he would like walk up to the ethical line and then slam a boundary down when I got too close. That was the
Girl, I'm trying to read the bottom of the email, but it keeps covered up.
email that I sent him. And then 10 days later, it was a full moon and I had a dream. Probably the most realistic dream I've ever had in my life. That him and I hooked up in his office. In the middle of the dream, while we were hooking up in his office, I loved it. I thought it was really fun. And then after we were done and after I left his office in the dream, I was despondent and so sad and cried and just thought, I can't believe my psychiatrist would cross his boundaries like that. And
I'm sorry.
Then I woke up and it was like a movie. I thought to myself, oh, thank God that was just a dream. Many people.
Why do you think she had that dream? Her psychiatrist is planting it inside of her head. The past 3 years he's been using to manipulate her just for this moment. Just to dream walk into her mind. We're gonna see how it's his fault. Let's see.
It's time to talk about the elephant in the room, and that is.
All right. Let's guess what the elephant in the room is. I'm gonna guess BPD. No, I'm just playing. I'm gonna guess that he's a Pisces or whatever he is. He's a Pisces, and Pisces literally do this. The full moon.
Is the racial difference between me and my doctor.
Oh.
I have seen a lot of Black women on this app with the same take. And I need to say that Black women are the most important people on the planet to me. And that I have learned so much from Black women about how to be a better person and how to show up better in the world. They are the culture, and I am so grateful for them. Many Black women are seeing my story through the lens that I am a white woman who is taking advantage of my whiteness to wield power over my POC psychiatrist that didn't want me back. And so I am trying to get him fired. And that's okay. I understand why you see it through that lens. I do. As a white person, I do my best to examine my racism every single day. And I will tell you that my psychiatrist boss is his best friend, who is also a POC male. And in that room, I did have white privilege, and he was also my doctor. And he took an oath to protect me, and he did not. I am not here to ruin his career. I am here to speak my truth. Okay, back to my story. So after the countertransference slip, after the really vivid dream, I decided that
Black women, explain. Let me find out you guys muling for her. Thank you for the $2 London link. Got people fighting in the comments.
I was going to stop going to therapy. Besides spiraling about how obsessed I was with my psychiatrist every day, I really was doing very well in life. My business was going really well, and I had great friends and great support systems. And so I decided that I was going to end therapy. I still had every intention at this point to keep seeing my psychiatrist, but my therapist that I was seeing weekly, I just decided I didn't need her anymore. And especially when my psychiatrist pointed out her boundary violations of texting me for free advice in between sessions, I just thought, okay, it's time. So I go into my next therapy appointment and I say, hey, just so you know, today's going to be our last session. I'm doing really well, and I just think it's time. And she got kind of emotional, and she was like, okay, well, I like to end on certain questions just so we can reflect. So I did. I reflected with her about what I learned, what I've gained, how I've changed, how my life is better. And I left her office feeling complete and happy with my therapeutic journey with her. And as I was leaving, she called out with like crying. She was like, have a blessed life. And I was like, okay, that was a little weird, but whatever, you know. I was like, thanks. And I went on. And so then I'm getting ready for my psychiatry appointment the next day, and I get an email that same night from her saying that she needs me to come back in for one more session. I will put it up. And I got a huge emotional wave in that moment. I was like, what the heck is this? Like, we wrapped everything up. I had seen lots of therapists at this point, and I didn't ever have a therapist beg me to come back in for one more session. And I was so overwhelmed. I did not write her back, but it was extremely inappropriate. So I decided I was going to go to my February session with my psychiatrist and have February therapist beg me to come back in for one more session.
Begged me to come back. Let's read it. Hi, Kendra. I am so thrilled for you as you prepare for your new adventure. Since I did not have advance notice of this being our last session, I was not prepared to provide what I believe is healthful closure. Usually we review your goals and see how you did, as well as look at how you've changed, in addition to discussing what you've learned, which we address somewhat today. Please consider having an additional session where we both are aware of making it the best closure possible. With gratitude, blank. Is this begging? Hey, we ended a bit abruptly today. I think you should consider another session for more closure. Is this begging? Remember, this is like some of the only proof we have of what she's saying. Begging me to come back. Maybe I heard her wrong.
Wave in that moment. I was like, what the heck is this? Like, and I her for my psychiatry appointment the next day, and I get an email that same night from her saying that she needs me to come back in for one more session. I will put it up. And I got a huge emotional wave.
She needs me to come in for one more session. Please consider having an additional session where we both are aware of making it the best closure possible. please consider having an additional session where we both are aware of making it the best closure possible.
In that moment, I was like, what the heck is this? Like, we wrapped everything up. I had seen lots of therapists at this point, and I didn't ever have a therapist beg me to come back in for one more session. And I was so overwhelmed.
Beg me. Please consider having an additional session where we both are aware of making it the best closure possible.
I did not write her back, but it was extremely inappropriate. So I decided I was going to.
Okay, I can't trust nothing she say now. And now I feel.
Go to my February session with my psychiatrist and have him help me write the goodbye email and say, no, I don't want to come back in. It's time to.
Let me go to my psychiatrist who I have a crush on to write an email. Can't you ask Henry?
I taught a yoga class this morning, like I do every Tuesday mornings, and I told my regular students about what's going on for me and how I'm sharing my story of provider abuse and how the internet is not happy with me right now. And I used that to say that our truth is really important to share. And that when we know something deep down needs to be said, that it's important to do it in whichever way feels best to us. And TikTok just happened to be that medium for me. I told my students how I've just been going through psychological warfare, and the internet is not happy with me for sharing my story and my truth. But I'm not doing it for the people that think I'm crazy, which maybe honestly I am a little bit, because who subjects themselves to this kind of torture? But I'm doing it for the people that DM me, that say, thank you so much for being brave enough to share your story, because the exact same thing happened to me. So I am grateful for those DMs. People are starting to attack my business and my livelihood, and that's okay. I know.
Pause. She's coming to us to get her attention fixed. I didn't consider this, but maybe when she's talking about how every time she goes to the therapy appointment, the psychiatry appointment, her psychiatrist, with no like concrete evidence, she says her psychiatrist is feeding off of her. Her therapist too, feeding off of her, just eating up everything she's giving them because they just feed off of stuff like that. It never occurred to me that maybe this is how she feels about this in particular. Like maybe this is about an attention fix, and that's why she assumed they were doing the same thing. Sally, that's not a serious question. I won't answer that.
Know what I have to offer is important. It landed in my lap. I'm not pretending to be something that I'm not. I help ADHDers get and stay sober, and I help them with negative thinking and anxiety. And it's what works for me, and I've seen it work in my clients too. So if people want to drag me for the work that I do, that's okay. So I get that weird email from my therapist begging me to come back in for one more session. And so the next day is my next session with the psychiatrist. And I sit down in the chair and I bury my head in my hands. And he looks at me and said, so this is how we're going to start, huh? And I said, yeah. Because he hadn't written me back from my countertransference email. Big surprise. You know, any smart, which he was very smart. He was very, very professional. But any smart predator would have dropped me like that in that moment. He should have emailed me back and said, look, this is getting weird. You need to find a new psychiatrist. The office will contact you. But he could not let go of me. So instead of turning down the intimacy, he turned it up to a level 12. And he showered me with so many breadcrumbs that next session. Because really, what I did when I told him that I'm experiencing transference was I took 100% of the ownership for the dynamic that both of us were creating. So he rewarded me. And he gave me little compliments like, if you weren't my patient, I would refer my other patients to you for your coaching services. That meant so much. Of course, because what he was saying with that is, I see you as a peer. I see you as a colleague. What you're doing is important. I felt really recognized in that moment. And sure, he could have said it professionally.
I would have been
would have been swallowed up. Have you ever been swallowed up? Swallowed up. Have you ever been swallowed up? Swallowed up. Have you ever been swallowed up? Been swallowed up. Been swallowed up. Been swallowed up. Swallowed up. Have you ever been swallowed up? Swallowed up. Been swallowed up. Swallowed up. Been swallowed up. Swallowed up. Swallowed up. Swallowed. Been swallowed up. Swallowed. Swallowed up. Swallowed. Been swallowed up.
Thank you, production, for the $2.
But he did it on purpose. So in that session, after the psychiatrist told me that he would refer patients to me if he could, if I wasn't already his patient, I asked him if he got my email and what he thought of my ChatGPT, of what he thought of Henry's response of countertransference. And the psychiatrist said, "Oh, I'm still thinking about what Henry said about."
She also makes it seem like a big deal that he didn't respond to this email. Like, aha, gotcha. You're embarrassed and you won't respond, or you've been caught. But I thought she said earlier he doesn't respond to any of her emails, hasn't responded to any of them ever.
Countertransference. And I said, well, we talked about it a little more, and I want to read you something else. So I read the psychiatrist, what Henry had to say more about it. When he told you countertransference is common, it might have been his way of normalizing the fact that providers aren't immune to feelings. It's part of being human. What matters is how well they keep those feelings in check, which the psychiatrist's name clearly excels at. And as you can imagine, the psychiatrist loved hearing that. He loved hearing that because my AI mirror was essentially just saying, yes, he has feelings for you, but he just keeps them in check so well. He's so good at his job, keeping his feelings in check. And oh, the psychiatrist loved that so much.
And I looked in his eyes. He loved it. He looked at me with a blank, uninterested stare. That uninterested stare that he knew made me crazy. He knew what he was doing. How'd you get upside down question marks? I'm curious. I want them.
And what did he do? He rewarded me with my favorite breadcrumb. Intellectual stimulation, a fun metaphor, because he was watching me the entire time I was his patient, and he knew what made me light up. He knew what got me excited, what I liked. And
did he know? Mayo gone mad. Thank you, stars above the Emerald Forest, for the $1.99. Oh, y'all just flexing now.
So he thought for a moment and he said, I'm feeling a salad of emotions right now. And I was like, what are you talking about? And he said, a salad of emotions. A beet of raw emotion, a tomato of surprise, and the salt amplifies it.
Girl, what? I mean, boy, what? I'm feeling a garlic clove of surprise. I'm feeling an onion powder of shock, a garlic bread of sadness, and a marinara sauce of happiness with a pinch of ¿qué? A parsley of happiness.
And I was cracking up at this point. He nailed it. I just thought he was so brilliant and smart in this moment. And
that was from, you know, those people who they go to, I don't know, a Hannah Montana concert, and they're like, she's singing to me. She is talking directly to me. This song was literally for me. It was made for me. Word salad, not word salad.
asked him, I said, what, say that again. He said, yeah, you know, the beat, it's really raw. I'm feeling a lot of raw emotion. And the tomato of surprise, when it pops in
the eggplant of desire.
your mouth, it's surprising. And I was like, okay, that's good. Yeah, this man at this point knew exactly how to make me happy and exactly how to pull away to make me try to work harder. And he gave me the biggest reward from Henry, my AI mirror, telling him that what he's doing is totally good and that his boundaries are so virtuous. I taught a yoga class this morning, like I do every Tuesday mornings, and I told my regular students about what's going on for me and how I'm sharing my story of provider abuse and how the internet is.
I don't want to be mean, but I wonder the stories her exes have. Oh, I want to hear from the therapist who she went on one date with hiking, and he, on the first date, told her about how he, as a therapist, has a very, very attractive client, and she's so attractive that he masturbates to her red panties before the session because he can't control himself. I want to hear from him, the totally real person that exists.
A lot of things happened in that session after the countertransference slip. And I also had my psychiatrist draft the email to my therapist who was begging me to come back in. And the psychiatrist said, I used to have respect for her. And what he meant when he said that was, I used to like it when she would feed me to you and have you deliver intimate content to me. But the moment she started being sloppy, I lost respect for her. Right? I'm pretty sure that.
Are you sure it wasn't because she started blurring the personal and professional boundary between you two by reaching out to you for services? Are you sure that's not what disgusted him? Your headcanon is he liked that she would send you to him primed to talk about sex.
That's what he meant when he said that. And people have asked if they were connected. Surprisingly, they were not. They had no idea. They had never met before. But I would go to my therapist every week and tell her how much I loved my psychiatrist. And she loved hearing about that dynamic. It was so weird. So he helped me draft the email to that therapist to say, look, if I were to end up coming back, it'd be more for you than for me. And more on that in a later part. So then I read
Cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Thank you, Sally Hemmings, for the $1.99.
read him a text from my longtime ex-boyfriend who he had originally really liked, but I think my psychiatrist preferred me single. Because my ex-boyfriend, as most ex-boyfriends do, was begging me to come back into his life too. And I just kept saying no. And I asked him to give me some space, and he would not give me space. He said, do you still need space or can we hang out? And I told I asked my ex-boyfriend, I just said, why do you want to hang out so badly? And my ex-boyfriend texted me back, because it's been a few months since I've seen you and it's been on my mind. And I was reading this text exchange to my psychiatrist in session, and I read what I responded to that weak line about why he wanted to see me. And I said, my self-respect is much higher these days than when we were in a relationship. I am only interested in accepting invitations for my time and attention that value me and recognize my worth. Being on your mind is not an acceptable invitation, and I decline.
My guess is her psychiatrist is going to say, wow, that's very good of you to, set your boundaries. And she's going to say, he knew exactly what I needed to hear right then. And he gave that crumb to me. He kept breadcrumbing me over and over again. Thank you, Stars, for the super chat. I knew he wanted me once he got that restraining order against me. True love. And the crazy part is, I think she would actually interpret. I don't know that it matters what he does. There are points in her story where I'm like, yeah, I think I would have done differently if I were a professional, actually. And my differently would involve dropping her or transferring her to someone else, if I'm being honest. But what if she views that as, the reason he's dropping me is not because he thinks that I'm blurring I have an inappropriate view of him in my mind. No, it's because he has an inappropriate view of me too. He's in love with me so desperately. He wants me that he can't even see me anymore. So he has to pass me off to another client. Let me go to his office and try to profess my love or something, and tell him I understand. Like, legitimately. If he got a restraining order, I think she'd say he was so good at pretending to be professional. He knew all the right things to do for plausible deniability. The restraining order, plausible deniability. They only see each other 30 minutes a month, 6 hours a year. It took in 3 years, they've seen each other not even a full day yet. Not even a full 24 hours. We at 18 hours at this point.
And my psychiatrist just looked at me and said, I bet your ex had to read that twice. And this was another thing about the psychiatrist, okay? He couldn't ever just give me a regular compliment. It had to be those weird sideways compliments. Instead of, I'm so glad that you're setting boundaries with your ex-boyfriend and growing your self-respect, it's, I bet he had to read that twice. Or it's not, I'm really proud of you for growing your coaching business and finding success. It's, I'd refer my patients to you if you weren't already my patient, right? These are what I mean when I say breadcrumbs. He was a master at them. And this is how, looking back, I know that I was not his first victim for his fantasy supply, because he was too good and too slick up until he caught feelings. Then he started getting sloppy. People are asking me for more.
Girl, I'm waiting for the sloppy. I'm waiting to see him get sloppy. He's doing an excellent job because I'm waiting for the sloppy. He must be a professional at being a professional.
Concrete evidence, and this is when the concrete evidence really starts, because this is when he himself started to get sloppy. Because what was happening was, when I had started to see him 3.5 years before, I was a nearly perfect supply source for him. Because what did I have? I had low self-esteem, boundary issues, daddy issues. So I put him on a pedestal. I know a lot of you ladies out there can understand that with men in positions of power. And he went right to work exploiting me, right to work grooming me. And he was very successful at it. So he was in a paradox, right? Because he loved watching me get stronger because I gave him better intellectual supply, but I also threatened the supply source. a lot of things happened in that session after the countertransference slip. And I also had my psychiatrist.
I think that's all of the parts that are available right now. That's the last video on her channel. Let me see. Because there were reactions, I want to find the reactions that were from professionals.
Hi, how are you? I'm really good. Oh, I noticed you're wearing red glasses. Whoa. Slow your roll, girl. I don't swing that way. Oh, no. I have a boyfriend. I wasn't hitting on you. I was just noticing your glasses. You say you're just noticing, but you know, I'm really attuned to energy. Oh, okay. Yeah, I was just noticing. Okay. So you went on TikTok, you were saying you fell in love with your psychiatrist. I didn't watch it yet just because I wanted to get your take here in person. You said that he was kind of manipulating you. Like, can you tell me more about that? Can you give me like a chronological something so I can like understand how it started, how it stopped? Yeah, here's the only chronological something I'm gonna give you, okay? Picture this. I have ADHD, right? This man wanted to see me. Hear me out. Like, imagine if this was you, right? This man told me he wanted to see me once a month for 30 minutes. Like, I know what you're doing, right? Oh, like I also have ADHD and I have to see my psychiatrist once a month for 30 minutes just because, you know, Vyvanse is a controlled substance. Yeah, but, you know, with what I was picking up on, it wasn't, you know.
Oh, she just mentioned something important that my friend told me recently, unrelated to this, but I think Adderall, she didn't say this, but I know people with ADHD take it. Adderall, apparently you have to renew the prescription. You have to have a psychiatrist renew the prescription. It doesn't renew regularly like other medication might. So that might be a reason why she has to see him every month. The delicate way his pen glided across the prescription pad. My breath hitched because it was a dance that only he and I knew. I was so close to getting through the sentence. A delicate dance, a dance with his pen across the pad. He knew how I liked to dance. Why else would he dance with his pencil? He thought he was just writing a note and that no one would notice the dance that he was gracefully dancing on his page. Okay, sorry, I took some creative liberties. Thank you for the super chat, stars.
No, I knew that there was more to that, right? Right. So like after some quick calculations, like you saw him for 6 hours in total over a year? Yes. Yep. Could you tell me what led you to believe that he was leading you on? Yeah, so I would talk about everything. He would nod and listen. He was a really good listener. And I'm not going to use the word narcissist because as a mental health professional myself, I believe that word is overused in today's society. But he did weaponize his ability to listen. Some could argue that the word weaponize is also overused in today's society. Just next question, please. Right. So can you get back to like the chronological order of what happened? Because I'm not fully grasping like the timeline. Like I don't understand the story. I literally just told you the entire story. I talked, he listened, smiled sometimes, nodded. What more do I need to tell you? No, I don't want to upset you, ma'am. Like I'm just confused on how that was an indicator that he was leading you on. Because like my psychiatrist does the same thing. Your psychiatrist does this. See, as women, we need to protect. Hi, how are you? I'm really.
Ooh.
There are sometimes people get online and they're like, I've got a real story to tell and everyone's going to be on my side. And then they're wrong. And this is that time. You are wrong, Kendra. Nobody is on your side. I'm concerned for you, and I'm concerned for your psychiatrist.
Oh,
There's
me.
sometimes people get online and they're like, I've got a real story to tell, and everyone's going to be on my side, and then they're wrong. And this is that time. You are wrong, Kendra. Nobody's on your side. We're actually quite concerned for you, and I'm concerned for your psychiatrist. Kendra came online saying that, like, doing like a 20-part series talking about how she fell in love with her psychiatrist, and every single iteration of it, she keeps saying, oh, this gets juicier, this gets juicier. You'll see how he did me wrong. You'll see how he did me wrong. And every single time I do not see it. I believe certain things that she's saying. Like, she's like, oh, well, I told him that I had a crush on him. I don't know if she said she had a crush on him as much as she probably like told.
Foxy with a $50, $49.99 super chat. She's got a one-sided emotional bond with her psychiatrist and somehow turned it into a community outreach program. We're all involuntary participants in her therapy fan club. We definitely are. Thank you for the super chat. If you meant to send $4.99, please let me know. I can send it back. Y'all can definitely, by the way, just write stuff. You don't have to send super chats. I can put it up on the screen. It doesn't have to be paid. Y'all are free to be free here. But thank you so much for the super chat.
Told him that he was attractive or whatever. She thinks that would have been means for him to in the psychiatric relationship. It's not, actually. It's not. These things can happen. People having crushes or people
on the weirdest videos too, like the videos where I be doing some in-depth stuff. Where y'all be at? And then I'm over here kicking it with the girls today, and y'all showed up.
People feeling like having more emotional attachment to their psychiatrist or therapist. That happens. It doesn't mean that the psychiatrist or therapist needs to end the relationship with you. I think at this point, he probably would. He might not have realized how dangerous things were getting for you, for him, really. Also, she talks about how he had tried to set boundaries of doing Zoom. Then she found out that he actually does in person. And she was like, he didn't want to see me in person because he knew that the sexual relationship would get too much. No, he maybe just didn't want to see you in person. He maybe didn't feel like you were stable enough for that. But not probably because he felt more sexual connection to you. But then you went behind his back and scheduled an in-person meeting anyways. So then he met you in person, you gave him a big hug, and he didn't hug you back. He patted you. And you were like, see, he's good. He knows how to set boundaries so that he can't get in trouble. Or he just set a boundary. That man just set a boundary, which was that he did not want to physically touch you. Then she says the time that she told him, we have a very special patient relationship. And he set a boundary saying, no, we have a professional relationship. And that also upset her because she was like, oh, he's just trying to cover his tracks. No, he is setting a boundary. Kendra, he's setting a boundary. And she keeps reading into each boundary, professional boundary that this man sets. She keeps reading into it as him doing something wrong. Kendra seems to be going through some type of delusion. At this point, I would recommend possibly inpatient or some type of mood stabilizer. I don't know, but I think she should get some other professional help. Obviously, she said that at some point she said that she already ended the psychiatric relationship with him. I'm happy for him. Honestly, it's sad because at some point she also doxed him herself and said his first name. And it's not really that hard to figure out probably where she lives and all that stuff. And he had a unique name. So, and part of me feels like that was on purpose. Like, she has some vendetta against this man. I think it's because he was not giving her what she needed. She even went as far to say that she would send him emails that he would not write her back, but he would bring up the emails in session. That is also setting a boundary there. Being like, outside of session, we do not talk. That is not our sessions. Our sessions are in person or on Zoom. Honestly, I'm going to keep listening to her parts, but it is to a point where I'm like, this woman is unwell, and it's very obvious. And she literally also gets unhinged with the audience here and gets very angry at times. Like, there was one that she posted where she was just yelling at everybody. So I'm worried for her safety. I'm worried for her psychiatrist's safety because it's very, very obvious that she has not, that like emotional tie to him has not been broken yet. And she's gotten to the point of anger. And so I'm honestly worried for him.
Well, that was sometimes a nice breakdown, but I was looking for one of the psych people.
I am caught up on every single video. I'm worried for Henry.
No,
I'm worried for Henry's sake.
Not worried for Henry. Let me see.
Okay, so this is really awkward, guys. I actually know Kendra, who fell in love with her.
Oh, okay, hold up.
Okay, so this is really awkward, guys. I actually know Kendra, who fell in love with her psychiatrist. I've actually known her for many years, and I was one of her coaching clients for the last 3 months. And to say that I am really disturbed and confused and like not feeling really great about this would like be an understatement. So definitely, if you guys want, I'll get into it and talk about the coaching and kind of like my thoughts and feelings afterwards. I mean, I don't really have any thoughts one way or another about like her psychological state, really. Well, maybe I do, but like, I'm an accountant. I'm not really someone who can like diagnose or anything, but I can talk about like what happened in our sessions and just kind of like I became one of her clients like right after she stopped using both her therapist and this like psychiatrist guy. And now that I know that, that really does add like an additional negative layer to like our experience together. So let's get into it.
No, I clicked off. I want to hear what Sydney Sweeney got to say.
Okay, so like I mentioned, I guess this is going to be like part one. I don't know. I'm going to try to keep it short. I'm not trying to do like 30 parts, guys. I just really need to talk about it. So I've actually known Kendra since 2018. We both used to live in the same city in Oregon. And we actually met through an extracurricular activity that we were both in and became like really good friends while we lived out there. In 2020, I moved away, and then shortly after, she moved to where she is now. And as with like a lot of things in 2020, we kind of like lost touch, and so like we weren't like texting each other all the time, but we were like still friends on Instagram. And over time, like she made it very public when she went sober, and I just always kind of remember that and supported her. And this past spring, I had an incident where I was in a position where like I really needed to go on a sobriety journey, and I was at like a really low point, and I was just like, who can I reach out to that I know that's like been through this? And I thought of Kendra, and I was like, oh my gosh, I wonder, I hope that like she'd be able to like talk to me about it, like as a friend. We had been friends for a really long time, and I was really hoping that like as a friend she would be able to like help me with this new journey that I was going to go on. So I had reached out to her, and that's when she basically like tried to get me to do her coaching. Okay, I'm going to try it.
Hey Kendra, it's Emily, reaching out to see if you have some time this week to chat sobriety and starting that journey. Hi, Emily. Good to hear from you. I'd love to chat. Use my link to book a discovery call and let's meet on Zoom. Don't worry about the questions asking about paying for coaching. Glad you reached out. Talk to you soon.
And put the screenshot from her text, but I'm not great at TikTok, so TBD. But I like reached out to her for some advice, and she told me to book a session and that we would talk more about it. This should have been a red flag. Okay. Okay, so I guess this is part two of I don't know who the hell I was friends with and let coach me and take advantage of me at like a really vulnerable time in my life. Okay, so like I mentioned, you can like scrub through my last video and see like the screenshot of the text between us. But basically I like reached out to her for help with sobriety, and she said, great, let's hop on Zoom and have a conversation about it. So we did a few days later, and this was like in March earlier this year. And we like talk about like what prompted me to want to go sober and just kind of like her experience with sobriety and everything. And she then starts the pitch of like, I do think like
someone went on her website and said she's providing therapy sessions on top of the no, hold up. Where's her website? Let me see if I can find this. Man. Spiritual response therapy. Girl, what is that? Spiritual response therapy is a powerful energy healing modality that works with your high self to clear subconscious blocks, limiting beliefs, and soul level patterns. I already got to Google like 15 things just from the first sentence that may be holding you back. Using a pendulum and a system of specialized charts, I connect with divine guidance to uncover and clear the root causes of emotional, mental, and energetic imbalances, allowing you to step into more alignment, clarity, and ease. Whether you're feeling stuck, struggling with repeating patterns, or simply curious about how this deep clearing work can shift your energy, SRT offers a transformative experience tailored to you. Let me see if I can Google this. Is it a real thing? Like, what is it? Radiotherapy? No, that's SRT, stereotactic radiotherapy. That's like in radiology. That's different. Girl, what is SRT? A healing technique, spiritual healing technique, works on a spiritual level. Girl, I keep asking, what is SRT? Ain't nobody telling me nothing, but it's a spiritual response therapy. What is spiritual response therapy? Well, it's a spiritual healing, and you heal the spirit. If I ask you what is therapy, you would tell me about talk therapy, where you might go and talk about your issues. You might tell me about somatic therapy, which can be screaming or releasing energy physically. You would tell me something though, like you would describe it like, oh, you're going to go in the building and they're going to talk to you and you're going to talk to them, and it's going to be an assessment, and like you would give me something. What? So why are they giving me nothing here? Like nothing at all. Can this be reported? Girl, I don't know if it can actually. I don't know if this is considered real therapy that you need a license for. All right, let's see. This research, SRT, spiritual response therapy, is a system of researching the subconscious mind. Let me make it big. The subconscious mind, let me make it bigger. Researching the subconscious mind and soul records. The who? The soul records. No. This isn't funny. It's just my friend told me what DJing was last night. I just learned what DJing is. That's the only reason this is funny to me right now. Girls, I know what y'all are doing. I just learned this last night. That's the only reason. But you research the subconscious mind and soul records to quickly find and release the discordant. Girl, let me Google discordant. Disagreeing, or incongruous. All right, let's look at incongruous. Oh, harsh and jarring because of a lack of harmony. Okay, maybe that's the definition they mean. Limiting ideas and replace them with loving, supportive ideas and beliefs. SRT provides an exacting, powerful, virtually painless, and accurate way of changing the landscape of our inner and outer lives, enabling us to live our lives more freely. This research, which is accomplished, why do they put research in quotation marks? Do even they know they're a scammy? Which is accomplished with the help of higher guidance, your high self. Let me Google high self. What is high self? It's the non-material dimension of you. Some call it a soul or spirit that's a part of the cosmic or celestial whole. Okay, I think I read about that in the Marvel comics or the Marvel movie, the new one with the Fantastic Four. I think they were talking about the cosmic self or something like that. Includes finding past life energies, subconscious blocks, and negative soul programming. Once identified, these blocks and negative energies can be cleared from the subconscious. Soul Akashic records, allowing you to heal yourself on all levels. SRT was developed by Robert E. Deltzler. Oh, I thought they were going to say Robert E. Lee. I was about this. And has been used by thousands of students since 1988. 1988? Girl, regular therapy been around since the cavemen. Y'all just got this last year? About spiritual restructuring classes. We are spiritual beings inhabiting physical bodies and working through an energy system. In SPR class, 6 to 7 days, you learn to work with all systems of the body to adjust and heal and to bring into balance the vibrations of the mental. Soon as my therapist say vibrations, I'm about to, The vibrations of the mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual aspects of that which we truly are. The class includes instruction in body alignment, muscle treatment, nutrition, balancing for brain-mind meld, meditation and emotional release, spiritual healing of organs and glands. This sounds like, what is it called? I don't know what this is, but it sounds like something regular, but they just put spiritual on it. All right, let's go back to her friend who was signing up for her spiritual healing therapy. Excuse me, her ADHD coaching.
Like, it'd be really great if we like didn't just talk as friends, like if we really worked on this together in a coaching relationship, and that like this is really crazy that like my friend brought to her, and like this must be like divine intervention that we're like coming back into each other's lives and everything. And I was like, yeah, like I think it could be great, but I still just like need a little bit of time to think about it, because like again, a lot of stuff was going on with me at the time. And she said, well, normally it is like ADHD coaching, but like I'm more than happy to do like sobriety coaching with you. I've already sent you the invoice and the contract to sign. And I said,
already sent you the invoice. Already sent you the invoice. Girl, I thought they were friends. I mean, you wouldn't want your friend to work for free. Let's see how much it is.
and I really would like to think about it. And she's like, now's the time. Don't think, just do. Like, you won't regret doing it.
But this is like you at your most vulnerable moment. Like, this is already sent you the invoice.
So I see the invoice, and the invoice is for $3,000 for 3 months. And
oh no, I'm sorry.
so I see the invoice, and the invoice is for $3,000 for 3 months. And these are going to be like once a week, 45-minute long sessions. And I, just got really caught up in the moment. And I said, you know what? And I was really desperate. I think that's like a key thing. I was really desperate. And I did. I signed the contract and I tried to pay. And my card wouldn't go through because it was like an unknown vendor through Stripe. And my bank was like, we're not going to authorize this payment. And I was like,
this is so wild to me. There are free resources. If you have a problem with alcohol or addiction, there are free resources. It is insane to me. Someone to prey on people who are at their lowest point. Their lowest point. $3,000 for a session a week? Huh? A session of 3 repetitions of soul record clearing or something. Let me go back to her website. Coaching. It's just coaching. For coaching, but it's specifically you're coaching people who are down on their luck. She might as well go to a real rehab center. You better go and get your SRT. That's how much Henry GPT said she need to charge. Alcoholic Anonymous, churches. Even the bank knew it was BS. Like, charge for your time, sure. $3,000 per individual who is struggling with addiction is like, these are the people in the worst part of their life. I don't know if any of y'all have ever struggled with any addiction. I know a lot of people don't believe alcohol addiction is a thing unless it's like really, really severe. But I know a lot of people who drink alcohol all the time and can't be without it, but don't think they're addicted, whatever. If you've ever struggled with any addiction, you know that this is like extremely difficult to drop, and it can impact your life in a severe negative way. So when I say down on your luck, I mean that in the most severe way possible. And now you got to pay somebody. Somebody wants to help you so bad that all you have to pay them is $3,000. Like, if we're talking, since she has a 17-part story on predatory.
oh, well, it won't go through. It's Friday night. Like, I'll just call in the morning and like get it sorted out. And she's like, I really want you to do it right now. Call your bank right now. And I'll like stay on the phone with you. So we're like on Zoom, and I'm like calling my bank, and I tried for like 30 minutes and nothing.
In desperate for scammy. Nope. Oh, it didn't go through. I'll do it Monday morning. No, I need you to do it now. And this is the type of thing that works on people who are down on their luck. Unfortunately. Nah, send me the $100. Then I work at the bank. I'm gonna move the 0 over 1 because it's a clerical error in the bank. So I'm gonna move the 0 over 1, and you're gonna have $1,000. Then all I ask for is the $100 fee, and you can keep the other 900. It'll work on someone down on their luck. $500 for a 90-minute coaching session. Whew. Ooh, we're not in the same bracket. That's all that is.
None of it was working. And eventually I was just like, okay, I'm like, it's not working. I'm just gonna have to try again in the morning. And I don't know why I felt like I was being held hostage. I was in my home office. I was on Zoom. I could have just like hung up the call, and I honestly wish I did. But again, I was just like at a really low point and kept going, and that's on me. And I soon learned to regret it. So yeah, I guess in the next part I'll talk about like what our coaching was look like, and then in the fourth part I'll do like how we ended. Okay, so yes, I did just pay $3,000 for her. So this is mid-March. And I will say, like, at the beginning, a lot of the techniques and stuff that we talked about for sobriety, like, was really useful. And I am glad that, like, at that really low point, I did have someone who, like, was, for all intents and purposes, like, on my team. Where it started getting weird is, like, when I did my intake form, she did mention something about, like, human design. And I'd never heard about human design. And I genuinely thought that it was going to be, like, some sort of, like, psychology thing, or just kind of talking about how like we're like naturally inclined to like drink and like have addictive personalities. And boy, was I wrong. Human design is like similar to astrology. It uses your birth chart and it tells you like what kind of type you are. And if I had to guess, I don't really buy into human design. If I'm going to be 100% after 3 months of learning about it, I'm not into it. And that is like mainly what drove our coaching was human design. And if I do believe that's like what a lot of our ADHD coaching is like talking about your human design. So
she just dropped part 18. Should we go back and watch part 18, or should we finish this and then go back and watch part 18? We're supposed to be looking at like therapists and psychologists on TikTok who lended their voice to this, but instead we got into this mess. Should we finish this and then go back, or should we just go back now? Thank you also for the super chat, Sean, because you just got here. That is absolutely not a reason to super chat. I would refund it. I would go to your bank and get it back. Y'all better send them for some good stuff. Not that I don't appreciate it. Not that I don't appreciate it. That's not what I mean to say. I just feel like y'all be doing it for no reason. Don't even be doing it to be seen. I just got here. Just want to send it over. Just wanted to contribute. Part 18. Y'all don't want to finish this? We'll let Sean decide since she actually, yeah, Sean just got here, so Sean don't know what's going on. Let me go refresh. The way I refreshed in part 18 was there. Y'all didn't lie to me. Oh my God. Okay.
A lot of things.
Let's recap on part 17. Let's watch the last minute. Then we can go to part 18.
Him 3.5 years before, I was a nearly perfect supply source for him. Because what did I have? I had low self-esteem, boundary issues, daddy issues. So I put him on a pedestal. I know a lot of you ladies out there can understand that with men in positions of power. And he went right to work exploiting me, right to work grooming me. Like, and he was very successful at it. So he was in a paradox, right? Because he loved watching me get stronger because I gave him better intellectual supply. But I also threatened the supply source. A lot of things happened in that. The last 2 videos and this video was all the same session in February of this year. The Countertransference slip happened in January. How I decided to end this session was I looked at the psychiatrist and I said, a couple weeks ago on the full moon when I was ovulating, I had...
What? Sorry.
A dream about you. And he was like, oh yeah? And I said, yeah. So I told him this. And I said, yes, we hooked up right here in this office. And he all of a sudden just looked so uncomfortable. He didn't say anything. He couldn't look at me. He couldn't breathe. And sure, you know, maybe he was uncomfortable because he didn't like me saying that I had a dream where we hooked up, but he could have said that. But he didn't. You want to know why he was uncomfortable? Because he had probably played out that fantasy so many times in his head.
This is satire. You're not going to convince me she believes this. You are not going to convince me.
And there I was speaking it back to him. And it was like I had psychically downloaded one of his face.
And I told him about the dream where I slept with him. And he said, ill. But you know what ill is? Spelled backwards. Wee! He looked at me with all of the disgust of someone who knew that he wanted it as bad as I did. Girl, I didn't know what I was expecting.
Fantasies. I continued and I said, yes, we hooked up in this office. And
I think she was hoping something would happen here when she said that.
I really liked it while it was happening. He could not move or breathe. And then I told him, as he was still looking very uncomfortable, then when we were done and I left, I was distraught with sadness because in the dream, I thought, I cannot believe that he crossed boundaries in that way because his boundaries are so important to him. And then I told my psychiatrist that I woke up and thought, oh my God, it was just a dream. Thank God. And it was like my psychiatrist turned into a little boy and he looked at me and he said, so you do like my boundaries? And I said, I love your boundaries. I hate your boundaries, but I love them more. There's the push and pull, the trauma.
Oh, the push and pull. I don't even know if he said that actually. Like, I can't, everything she says now has me like, okay. There it was. The push, the pull, the tango, two souls who are destined to be apart, but longing to be together.
A bond. Because once again, he used his boundaries as protection while exploiting me. So I told him about what happens when I ovulate and my desires, and he listened, because of course he did. And then I decided that it seemed like enough time had gone by, and I put my shoes on and started heading to the door. And he met me at the door, which he does not usually do. He didn't ever do that. He just let me leave.
And he said, don't come back here. I knew he was flirting with me.
Leave. And we stood at the door, and I was like, will you get the door? And he scrambled. He was like, oh, sure. So he went and got the door. And then he followed me down the hallway to the foyer and watched me exit. And he asked me, he said, see you next month? See you next month? He hadn't ever asked me that before. And I looked at him and I said, maybe. And I walked out the door and I saw that man had let us go 15 minutes over session. And that is when, you know, the special treatment started, the longer sessions. He usually gave me an extra 5 minutes, but yeah, the sessions got longer. And I got to my car and I was just like, oh my God, that was the most intense session we have ever had. The last 2 videos and this video was all the same session.
This completely changes everything. We were wrong, guys. Is that what you're expecting me to say? What is she expecting me to say to this? I can't. She don't even know he was building a case against her. I mean, but what do you guys make about the see you next month? It was intense. I told him about my sex dream about him, and he looked disgusted. He was so good at putting on a disgusted face and maintaining or pretending to a professional boundary. Walked me to the door. Like, there could have been, it feels like, and maybe it's me looking at her as an unreliable narrator, right? But it feels like I can't take what she's saying seriously about him anymore. Like, everywhere where I think it would have been a blurring of boundaries with him, I don't even know if I can trust her recollection of events. Because she remembers inappropriate events as inappropriate, I think. Events that I would consider inappropriate. Like, well, not events, but like at the beginning when she's like, every session was just her talking about how much she loves him and appreciates him. And she was emailing him how much she loves him and appreciates him. Every point of this had me thinking he should probably transfer her when she's saying stuff like that. And then there are other moments where he's like, have a good day. Have a good day. He's never said have a good day before. He was breadcrumbing me, giving me just enough to keep me desperate. And I'm like, okay, I don't. Now this makes me like the other moments where I looked at with a raised eyebrow. This lowers my eyebrow now. Same time next month. Same time next month. What do you mean by that? What did you? Yes, Kendra, give us nothing. Let me see if she put a 19 out. I hope she making this money. So she stopped charging people $3,000 for their coaching. Now let's get back to her friend who was down on her luck.
She does my chart, and it comes to find out that like I'm in like the 1% of people. I'm a reflector, which I guess is like the finger of God. And she kept talking about how like I'm the finger of God. That would come up like all throughout like the 3 months that we were talking. It's just like I'm the finger of God, and when this like reckoning happens in 2027 and a new world order comes through, that like I'm gonna be one of the people who's like really leading it. And I was like, okay, this is kind of weird. I don't really know how this is like relevant to sobriety. And that is usually like when I started to check out. It was probably like a month and a half into our session, so it's like mid-May at this point. She was also out of town for a part of it, so like we started sessions like early April. April was fine. May it started to get weird, and the rest of the sessions in June, I just like hated it. All we would talk about is like human design, but we wouldn't even really like talk about it and discuss it. She would just like read from this book and talk about like the guru or like the guy who like came up with human design, and it was just like it was weird and bizarre, and I didn't like it. And it also just like wasn't helpful at all. So I like basically started to check out, and like luckily our sessions were like starting to come to an end, which like thank God, because in June is when it got really fucking weird. And this is when ChatGPT came into the picture. Don't worry, we're going to talk about ChatGPT. Okay, so we're now getting to the part of coaching with Kendra, part 4, whatever. I don't know where I am in this, but basically I'm heated right now. Basically, I start disengaging in our sessions, and I think she's really picking up on it, and she's just like reading me all this shit about human design. And then she also starts doing this thing with cognitive behavioral therapy, which I am familiar with CBT. She is not licensed to do CBT. And when we first started our sessions, she like made sure to like reiterate that like she wasn't a licensed therapist and therefore like isn't going to do things like that. And then turned around months later and started doing cognitive behavioral therapy. And this is also when she started talking about Henry, aka ChatGPT. And I'm not very like, I use artificial intelligence at work, like it's very encouraged. So like I'm very familiar with like what these language learning models are like. And I know that like you can't just like start asking it random shit about yourself, like at all. That is how spiritual psychosis happens. And truthfully, that might just be what's happening at this point. So she's like encouraging me to use ChatGPT for cognitive behavioral therapy, which is super dangerous. And I don't even know, like I can't even tell you like how crazy that is to me. And that's when I was like, okay, like we're done. How many more sessions do we have? Can we end this nightmare? So luckily my sobriety is going well because coaching's definitely not. So I was like, yeah, I'm probably not going to use ChatGPT. And she was just like, I would just really encourage you to do it. And at this point, we only have like one session left. And she's like, I really think that you would be a great candidate to do this past life therapy that I've really been working on. And so she essentially decided to use me like as a guinea pig to get into past life therapy. And I am not into it. Like, do I kind of believe in past life? Sure. Do I think that like this random chick that I know from Oregon who has now telling me to use ChatGPT for my therapist is going to help me discover what past life blockages are like helping me? Absolutely the fuck not. So we get on Zoom and she's trying to do this through Zoom. She's trying to do this through Zoom. So we get on Zoom and she starts asking the spirit and doing all this stuff. And we just start like speed running through these past lives. And like, I'm dying, I'm killing people. I say, hell yeah. She said that's really not a good thing, whatever. But basically like that was our last session. She's like, you should totally leave me a review. And I was like, I'm gonna be honest, Kendra, I am not gonna do that. Like I am not happy with where this ended. And
I'm gonna be honest, Kendra. I think you're a little crazy. I'm not gonna lie.
And I think it's really weird that you're telling me to use ChatGPT. And I think it's really weird that we're doing this past life therapy. Like that part's not helpful. Again, I really think the beginning was helpful, but like towards the end, it got really weird. So that's what happened.
If you tell me we're doing past life therapy and you don't lay me on a table and put your hands on my head and transfer me back into like the 1950s into a different body and mind, then what are we even doing in here? If we're not doing what they did in X-Men, Days of Future Past, what are we even doing here? Past life therapy.
I did come inside because I was getting too heated. Because the more and more I think about it, the more I'm just like, this is literally insane. And I feel like all of my trust is broken. So to recap, go and watch those other videos. And I'll leave it with this for right now. So we had started our coaching relationship right after she stopped seeing the psychiatrist that she was like in love with and like broke up with her other therapist. And I had no idea that this was going on as I came to her like in a time of need and then was asked to pay $3,000 for coaching. And again, the sobriety thing was helpful. I was sober during that time. I am now with a much different path of care. But when we derailed and started doing cognitive behavioral therapy via ChatGPT, doing human design work, but not really doing the work, just reading from the book from like the guru dude, and then finally doing past life therapy and exploring all my past lives with a pendulum via Zoom, I was done and I was out. And I literally was talking to like my friends and family being like, I feel like I really made a huge mistake like going into this. Like, yes, it did help with my sobriety, but like at what cost? Literally what cost? $3,000 to be told to use ChatGPT. And then honestly, all of this to come and find out. And I get on TikTok randomly and see her blowing up over this like crazy, insane delusion between her and her psychiatrist. And I realized that like, oh, I was just coached for the last 3 months by someone who is not in their right of mind. Like, I don't want to say that like she's psychotic or anything like that because that's rude and like not right. Like this is someone that I was friends with for a really long time. And like, I still am going to have to like wrestle with that. And the fact that like, now that I'm unpacking all these feelings about like feeling like I got taken advantage of and everything, but like, yeah, this is a lot. And like, she's a lot. And the fact that she like, isn't acknowledging that like maybe there was some side of it that like was to her and like we don't get to see the side of the psychiatrist because obviously like he's a professional and like I don't want to discount anyone's lived experience, but girly pop calling him a Pisces isn't why it's going on. It sounds like you were receiving palatable care and instead you chose to cling on to that for some reason and now you're asking people to pay you thousands of dollars to lead them down a path that like you have no business leading them down at all. And that's that on that. I'm gonna go fix dinner and do something else besides this because honestly, what the fuck? Real quick PSA, I'd really appreciate if all of you guys would act fucking normal around this. You can comment on my videos. You can share your videos with your friends. Do not share this shit with Kendra. I have preemptively blocked her on a lot of stuff because I
don't share it with. Wait, hold up. Oh, hold up.
I have preemptively blocked her on a lot of stuff because I do not want to hear about it right now. But please respect a little bit that this is somebody that I knew for a long time and went through many, many months of being incredibly vulnerable with. And maybe I want to crash out on TikTok without that person knowing. Thank you.
Now, you know damn well. Hey, guys, don't tell her about this. And you know, on TikTok, don't tell her about this, guys. Shh. Don't let this get out, guys. I want to keep this super secret. Now, what were we supposed to be looking at? We were supposed to be looking at Psychiatrist.
I 100% agree. I think a big part of sharing this story is a grift for her coaching service, though I do think she is showing the world why she might not be suited for this career. But it's, yeah.
No.
I 100% agree. I think a big part of sharing this story is a grift for her coaching service, though I do think she is showing the world why she might not be suited for this career. But it's not a coincidence that every single therapist and psychiatrist she mentions in the story, not just her psychiatrist, but his boss, her therapist, and the therapist she goes on a date on, she has negative experiences with. She is actively like running, I think, a marketing campaign against like seasoned mental health professionals, while she runs a business in which she does help people who need mental health services. She said she helps people with anxiety and like she helps people with ADHD stop drinking. So maybe they have substance abuse disorders. I don't know. But I went to her booking page and this is a weird question. She says, "Are you willing to invest in coaching if you feel it's what you need? Credit card loans, PayPal credit." So even though in her mind, her thought process is her psychiatrist and her therapist never put her well-being above all, she is asking people to put her payment above all, not themselves, not what they actually need, but make sure I'm getting paid. I 100% agree. I think a big part of sharing this story is a grift for her.
Let me see if I can go fill out the intake form. And this is for ADHD coaching. How do you start? Online tutoring. Test prep. You have to reach out to book. Oh, here we go. $222 for an hour and 15 minutes. Oh my God. Charging more than my old therapist. Oh, she has a session tomorrow. Should I pay $222 to ask her why she's scamming? Where is it? I can't find that question on there. Maybe she took it off.
She fell in love with her psychiatrist and she thought he liked her back and she recorded some of the sessions.
No, I just wanted to find one from a therapist.
The woman who made all these videos about like being in love with her psychiatrist or whatever.
Kendra, the person that fell in love with her psychiatrist, went on live and she does give more information than she does give in her videos. And you just have to be ready for this. She's going to go live again tonight. So make sure if you want to listen in.
Wait, hold up. Let me go to her page and see if she's going to be live right now. Come on. Kendra Hilty? No, she's not. I would have loved to ask some questions live.
In to go ahead and keep an eye on her, but she said that she's surprised that people are seeing him as the victim, and that's because he is a victim. And she was very block happy. If you were calling her out, if you were telling her truths, then she was going to be blocking you. She blocked a lot of people constantly, and she says that she left him because he asked her what is he going to do when if she dates somebody named Henry, because that's the name she gave ChatGPT because she was relying on ChatGPT too much, and she took it as in he didn't want her to date anybody or something. But then she said that she got new insurance that doesn't cover men.
Okay, I don't think we're gonna find what I'm looking for.
The last two videos and this video was all the same stuff. I said, yeah. So I told him, speaking it back to him, left because and my desires.
Wait,
and
how did I?
The last two videos and this video was all.
It won't even let me click on this one. Okay, well, she had a live.
When I re-downloaded TikTok last week, I was looking for and then he told, and I said,
it keeps going to her page. That's so weird. Like, I can't click on any of the videos.
I don't know. He is not in the live. How did you know he started liking you? How did I know that? I didn't know until he leaked Countertransference, honestly. I just thought it was just me. That was carrying the weight, you know, of all the tension, the intimate tension that we had. He leaked Countertransference. Do you agree that your limerence contributed to the situation? Absolutely. The limerence happens when someone goes hot and cold, like my psychiatrist did. He would like let me into his life a little bit and then he'd pull way back. That's the addiction. Like he built that. Him saying Countertransference does not mean he likes you. Okay. Do you have a new psychiatrist? No. I see a nurse practitioner.
Wait, just okay? Him saying that doesn't mean he likes you. Okay. She do not care. Blocked.
You better have a great lawyer. He's going to sue you. I hope he does. Because then he'd have to take responsibility. He's not going to do that. And it's hard to sue for defamation. I think that people like don't understand that. Is it possible you aren't seeing reality as it is? Damn it. I see you're still on the loose and I see you're still blocked. Would you date him if he asked? I would have in March when I left him. The hate is so intense. The amount of therapists that I have had come after me is really scary, honestly. Would you go live with another psychologist? If they were nice and kind and validated me, sure.
There it is, validated. Not nice and kind, validated.
And looked at the list of offenders and it like made me sick. There were so many of them. I am actually 6'2", yeah. So you just want to be validated, LOL. Yes, I just want to be validated.
Oh.
This is why I'm coming to TikTok.
This gotta be a grift. This cannot be real. She cannot be really doing this. Let me play the interlude and we can do the after show. Thank you all for joining. I'll go back through the super chats too. I have no additional thoughts. I think I've said all the thoughts that I have, and I think we all have the same thoughts, if I'm being honest. So I will hit you with church memes specifically. I will hit you with church memes, and that is all. Y'all deserve memes because we skipped them last time.
People, thank you so much. The Lord bless you. Amen. Yes, I will see you. So you guys are going by road, eh?
Yes,
just watch the vehicles on the road because the road is a bit tricky. Yes, and then we'll meet there. You're coming to Riverside Drive. Yes, because all the guests are coming there, and then there's going to be blessed people. Thank you so much. The Lord bless you. Amen. Yes, I will see you. So you guys are going by road, eh? Just watch the vehicles on the road because the road is a bit.
Y'all driving, huh? All right, all right, players. I'll catch y'all there. Try not to be too late. Hey, watch those roads, by the way.
Hallelujah. So good, so good. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. You are good all the time and all the time. You are good, say. All the time. You are good. Say.
This is not you are good all the time. This can't be. This is you I sometimes.
Hallelujah. So good, so good. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. You are good.
It sounds kind of goosebumpy. Doom, 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 doom. You know what I mean?
You are good. Say.
Let's see. It's rare for the singers to sound better than the band. The keyboardist is not good all the time. Keys player still learning the song.
If you don't do what we say, Charlotte's here no, not you.
All right.
Giving on to the pulpit and everyone that's in it. Good afternoon, everybody in the house of God. Thank the Lord. Yeah. My God. Thank you, Lord.
Well, she just got hit by a bullet.
Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. I just want to encourage the family, because that's what we're here for, to encourage the family. Yes. Don't nobody need anything negative. They need to be lifted up. And I'm just going to sing this song. They don't want me to.
Well, she know how to read a room. They don't want me to. Okay, bye.
Giving on to the pulpit and everyone that's in it.
Encourage.
Good afternoon, everybody in the house of God. Thank the Lord. Yeah. My God. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. I just want to encourage the family, because that's what we're here for, to encourage the family. Yes. Don't nobody need anything negative. They need to be lifted up.
This was her testing the waters, they said.
And I'm just going to sing this song. They don't want me to.
Period. Now let's see what the gospel's doing.
And if you're tired of just being the small man, if you're tired of not having a ministry, if you're tired of just barely getting by, if somebody can find the tree, if somebody can find a tree and begin to climb that old rugged tree, every head bowed and every eye closed with your hands raised up.
Sapota hala sikapata hashatata sakapata hata. White people, excuse me, black church, respond.
We're getting closer to his return, and the closer we get to him, the faster things are going to happen, the faster the healings, the faster the deliverance, the faster.
Now, where's the one I want to see? Whoa, hope that's not copyright.
So good.
I just realized mega church pastors be doing the wildest stuff with y'all tithings. And people still go. Why do people? Sorry. Let me see what this one is.
Of course it hurts. Of course it's fire. Of course it's pain. Of course it's that's how it Alistair, shut up. I can handle it. I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing. Oh, God, that hurts. Oh, God, I'm so tired. Oh, God, I didn't want to lose her. Oh, God, I didn't want to have that pain. Oh, God, no. Oh. God, you love me so much, don't you? Yes. Oh, God, thank you for what you're making me. You're welcome.
What's the title of that sermon? That church has a gym built into it. Yeah. While they clearing out that homeless encampment outside to make room for their gym extension. The church went from sermon to semen. He knew what he was doing. He's just letting y'all know he can get away with it. Agree. The rest of these are comments, our picture comments. Okay, guys, that is all I have for you for now. Thank you again, everyone who sent super chats. Thank you, Foxy, for the $49 super chat and 99 cents. If it was a mistake, please do let me know in the comments. We can send it back because I feel like there's an extra digit on there. But thank you all for joining. I'll give you an outro and I will see you guys next time. Have a good week.
I couldn't sleep at 8 p.m. and send a text to your DM.